Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event.
Oh, yeah!
Are you ready?
And now, coming live from MainEventMadness.com and presented by Spreaker, it's Main Event Madness, your wrestling podcast, your wrestling website. You can call into the show by calling 305-600-4708 or interact with us on Facebook at facebook.com/MainEventMadness. And with that, here are your hosts, Al Merriman and John Curry. Actually, now we're live because now my stupid ass forgot to unclick the mute button. Guys, we're live. We have had the issues from hell. This is the last motherfucking time. I'm sorry that I'm going to say that we don't have issues with us. Guys, hello, everybody. This is the mutilated, fucked up audio-wise edition of Main Event Madness Radio.
Well, technically, you fixed the issue. Now Main Event Madness started at 8:55 p.m. Eastern live. We got Bruce in about 5 minutes. We got Evan Ginsberg. He's on the other line. So this is we're starting the show at 8:55 p.m. Eastern time. That's all. Evan, how are you?
I'm good. If it makes you guys feel any better, a couple of weeks ago on Legends TV, my show, all of a sudden we turned into a silent movie, losing the last 20 minutes of audio. I've done 3 years and 150 or so shows. All of a sudden it was silent. So when you do live TV, live radio, things happen, and listeners, viewers, they'll understand. It's not you, and that's part of the tightrope of working live. You're dealing with technology and human error, etc., so on, and things happen, but great things happen also. You never know what anybody's going to say, and, that's live, so enjoy it. It's not all bad.
Yeah, John, we're good, man. Let's just brush it all off. It is Main Event Madness, and I'm kind of happy. Now nobody has to listen to our roster moments of the week. We got Bruce Hart coming up. That's right, Bruce Hart is coming up. He hates the WWE more than Evan Ginsberg, so this is going to be great. He is close with the Hart family. He's got a lot of amazing stories. So Bruce Hart will be on the show here momentarily. Guys, thank you so much for bearing with us. I promise you we're going to get all these issues put together, and we're going to be fine moving forward throughout the rest of the night. It's Main Event Madness. We're just going to have Bruce talk a little bit about the WWE, the WWF, and a bunch of different topics. John, are you okay? You're breathing, brother. I want to make sure that you're alive.
He hung himself.
Mid-show, he's just hugged himself.
I want you to know that I was on a 50,000-watt station in New York for 16 years, WBAI-FM 99.5, and one night we had a blackout, and the host that I was working with, Fred Giabold, who was subsequently passed, he looks at me and he goes, "We have dead air." Like it suddenly dawned on him. We're talking and nobody's hearing anything as the lights were going out in the middle of a blackout. So, again, things happen, and we are hoping against hope that John does not throw the computer out the window like a friend of mine once did.
Well, if I do throw the computer out the window, it's going to be the old one, not the one that I'm on right now.
buddy of mine throws his computer out the window. He lives in a co-op, and next thing he knows, there's a knock on the door, and it's representatives from the co-op giving him a $500 fine, saying, "What are you, insane? That computer could have killed the dogs or the dog walkers 8 floors below. Please don't throw computers out the window anymore." I couldn't make this up. So hang in there, John.
Yeah.
Well, we'll survive. We've had
This
worse.
is why, Al, I am calling you out.
I've been called out before, and it's been all for the wrong reason.
I
so go
have,
ahead.
in all likelihood, depending on how my interview goes on Friday, I have 17 weeks until I'll be in Florida.
Is that before my birthday or after?
That will be, as of right now, tentatively before your birthday, about a month
All
before.
right, well, then we'll talk. Maybe we'll do Monday Night Raw for shits and giggles.
No. I don't. I could care less about any of that.
What part of Florida are you guys in?
I'm in Miami, Florida, and this guy's going to be in
I'll be in Lehigh Acres.
Lehigh, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive from here on the west coast.
I should come down there one Wednesday. It's a cheap flight, New York to Florida, and we could all do this live together. And
I'm down.
and then we could all throw the computer out the window together.
Yeah, well,
like a ritual.
But
you could bring your bat. I'll bring the bats, and John
No, Al,
bring the lighter fluid.
What I'm telling you, Al, is you have 17 weeks to get some kind of... yes, Wayne, Lehigh Acres, it's about 10, 15 minutes away from Fort Myers. That's where my aunt and uncle live.
All right, so what I got 17 weeks to do?
Get a fucking studio together.
I
am sick and tired of dealing with this shit. Sorry, guys, I'm ranting and raving a little bit here.
You know what's funny, John? It's you had the issues this week, so you're going to call me out. You wanted to switch your computers. I'm fine. I thought
it was a good idea. And then I slammed the lid of my laptop shut, I opened it back up, and I had the blue screen of death. So I think the laptop is finally gone.
For the listeners who have patiently waited for the show, which started 55 minutes late, not only are we going to talk wrestling tonight, at some point we're going to give you the meaning of life. People have searched for thousands upon thousands of years. At some point in the next 2 hours, we're going to tell you the meaning of life. So hang in there, listeners. We're going to make it worth your while.
Oh, yeah. You guys don't want to miss it. And Bruce Hart is going to give you a little bit of that information as well. All right, I think Bruce is going to be here soon. I don't know if we're calling him. John, you are the guy with all the...
Let's surprise the sumbitch.
You gonna call him up?
I'm going to call him.
Well, wait, no, you should... Dude.
That's 9:00. All right, you know what? We'll give it till 9:05. Guys, basically, we'll give you the gist of Raw. Unless you like it being the Sting and John Cena show, it fucking sucked and looked like a horrible soap opera. And look at that. See, I start ranting and raving while Al's digging in his pants. And Bruce Hart's on. All right, guys. At this time, Main Event Madness Radio. It is 2 minutes past 9 o'clock on the East Coast. And with us now is Bruce Hart, brother of WWE Hall of Famer Bret Hart. He's one of the most legendary names of wrestling and one of the most legendary families of wrestling. And I'm shutting up because Bruce is going to talk and Al's going to talk and Evan's going to chime in and I'm just going to listen. Bruce, how are you, sir?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for the flattering introduction. I appreciate it. And, I'm looking forward to sharing perspectives with, as I told you guys before, I was impressed with your knowledge and sincerity, so that those are commodities that are in short supply, unfortunately, in the wrestling business these days. So it's always nice to talk to people who are knowledgeable and insightful and not shilling or not kissing somebody's sphincter and all that other stuff. So.
And Bruce Hart, I mean, it's Alfonso Merriman. I am grateful and appreciative that you were able to take time on this Wednesday night and talk with us. It means a lot. I know we got a good friend of yours on the other end of this call. That's Evan Ginsberg.
A great guy, another very well-respected wrestling journalist who
Thank you.
You know, there's not enough guys like Evan out there that are knowledgeable and passionate and understand it and all of that. You know, so I've known Evan for a number of years, and I've always had very high regard for Evan. You know, he's beyond that a really nice guy too. You know, genuinely nice.
Ditto, Bruce. Ditto. Bruce, I know you must have loved the finishes to Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, and Cena and Seth Rollins when a talk show host ran into the ring for the finish.
Yeah, I was. You know, it's funny. I hate to sound like I'm constantly just railing or.
Oh, please, it's no different than what Evan does on
disparaging
here.
the
It's okay.
WWE all the time, because I quite honestly, if I see something that's good, I'm more than happy to acknowledge and give them props, you know. And unfortunately, more often than not, I'm seeing aberrations like that Jon Stewart, whatever the hell that was, you know. You know, and same with the. You know, Taker and Brock, you know. I've said it for a long time, you know, there's an old saying in the wrestling business, you know, in order for a hot finish or something to get over, you actually have to make those swerve finishes few and far between. So, and you also have to justify, the ends have to justify the means, and all too often that doesn't seem to be the case. You know, they just have these convoluted and you know, ill-conceived finishes that ultimately you know, they tarnish the ostensible propriety of the world title, you know. And I said that for a long time, you know, as far back as the Montreal Screwjob or whatever, you know. Regardless of whether the people perceive wrestling to be legit or illegit or whatever, it's still critical that you preserve some sense of integrity to your world titles, you know. And it's a bit like the 1919 World Series with the Black Sox and all like that. But wrestling's the same, you know. And if you cheapen the propriety of that, then everything else within your promotion is compromised. And you know, they did kind of a double dosage of that, you know. Like, for me, that whole show, the SummerSlam was, you know, a hodgepodge of matches that shouldn't have even, frankly, been worthy of being on that card. You know, a lot of filler and crap, and you know, and I'm saying, okay, that's fine, you know, whatever. But at the very least, I figured they were going to maybe give us a straight finish or something that wasn't too insulting to your intelligence or whatever, you know. And you know, I was offended, and you know, I couldn't find any redeeming value in what they did with Seth and Jon Stewart. I figure, well, hopefully Taker and Brock will, you know, atone for some of that, you know, nonsense that went on with Jon Stewart and all like that. And theirs was unfortunately just as bad, you know. You know, I sort of found myself just saying, you know, this, you know, if I'm inside the business, you know, I just sort of feel like how stupid you think we are, you know, or, you know, like, and ultimately, you know, I believe the fans legitimately would like to be allowed to, for want of a better term, suspend their disbelief. You know, they actually, if you allowed them to, and I believe this, you know, from having booked for many, many years up here, and when we were doing our thing up here, you know, the fans, the matches and the finishes all were that tight, and we went to great lengths to, keep it, under wraps. It's a different world then, but and ultimately, I believe the fans wanted it that way. They didn't want to be told that it was a work, just like some guy going to church or something like that, and you invest your belief and your hopes and fears and dreams, all this into this, and the last thing you want is for some guy who's doing fire and brimstone and all this other stuff, and then, oh, by the way, this is all the work. You don't want to hear that. And the average wrestling fan's the same, in my estimation, if you just allowed them to, and it seems, I have no idea what their rationale is. I've heard all these convoluted rationalizations about why they've chosen to make out like it's entertainment or a work or whatever, but none of them still hold any water for me. To me, it's all a bunch of kind of irrational crap, and because they've done that, they have to keep going farther and farther in the direction of excess. They have this mindless more is better mindset. More swerve finishes, more titles, more tits and ass, more steroid freaks or whatever. But I actually believe they need to go the other direction, where you need to reduce the excess, and whatever you do, simple pretext, have an ostensible reason for it. In my day, if I gave a guy a finish, I always used to invite all the wrestlers. If you don't understand it, or you need to know why we're wanting you to do this or that, feel free to ask. And if I can't give you a rational answer that justifies it, then, call me out, or I shouldn't be in this position. I hate to sound like some kind of a cynic, but I see all too often stuff that makes no sense to me whatsoever. I would venture to say, if I was right there and I was seeking accountability from whoever orchestrated this aberration, they couldn't even give me an explanation. So I think I'm not sure what that's symptomatic of, whether there's too many cooks in the kitchen, or their egos are so inflated that they don't feel like they have to account for anything, or I'm not sure what, but there's so many things that unfortunately detract from the good stuff that it gives me cause for concern, just about the the future of the business. I've always felt wrestling sort of like a damn cockroach or something like that, or somehow they survive in spite of all the excrement it's inflicted on itself and all the other. But at the same time, I'd like to see them raise the bar. Have more respect for themselves. I've always said, if they don't respect themselves, how and why should they expect anyone else to respect them? My dad used to say that, but all too often I see these idiotic charades like the one we were just alluding to, where they seem to have a propensity for having, like when they have these non-wrestling outsiders, like a Floyd Mayweather or Jon Stewart or something like that, they immediately kind of compromise themselves for these people, which is to me an insult to themselves or their own sport. Like they have Floyd Mayweather, might be a great boxer or whatever, but for me it was an affront to the wrestling business. You got some supposed giant Big Show, 400-pound world's largest athlete, and I use the term loosely, is, doing a job for a 140-pound boxer and stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, you should be endeavoring to respect and uphold the propriety of your own damn business. And if you're not, it doesn't say much about your respect for that business, and they need to, I think, upgrade that. They need to, go back to some of the basic tenets of what wrestling once was, and I think that if they chose to do some of those things, the business, it's amazingly resilient, to have survived all the crap that it's inflicted on itself and still, be as popular as it is. It's a sign of how potentially great it could be, and I believe it's only scratched the surface, but they really need to re-examine a lot of the things, I'm not, I don't have any idea who's responsible for a lot of the crap, and I hate to say it, but I'm seeing a lot more crap than I'm seeing good stuff, and I feel sorry for any wrestler who has any self-respect and any, passion and pride and all like that, because I know if I was a wrestler and I had, committed myself and busted my ass to be as good as, the best I could be and all of those things, and then I went out there and saw whatever I was doing routinely compromised by, all this horse shit that you see on a regular basis with, 24/7 Network and Swerved and Hornswoggle making cameo appearances and divas who have about as much athletic aptitude as the Lincoln Memorial or something, masquerading as athletes and all this other, I believe the bar needs to be raised, but you got to be systematic about it. You have to actually, amongst yourselves, define what wrestling should be, how you want it to be perceived, how the wrestlers are going to, raise the bar. Like, I hate to be railing on the same people, but a lot of the guys I see out there don't, frankly, look, in my estimation, they're not nearly the level or the standard that was in the WWE, say, back in the 80s or even the 90s. As you guys know, when Vinny started his sort of takeover or whatever in the 80s, almost all his talent came from places like Stampede and AWA and Texas and Florida and Portland and all these places, and that's where all the talent came from. And they had a wealth of talent. Some of the guys who are on top these days would have been hard pressed to make the opening matches back in that era. And so I think they need to revisit that. I've said it in the past many times, the biggest mistake and the most egregious and hard to fathom mistake that Vinny and company have made was systematically, going to inordinate lengths to eliminate and, destroy all the promotions like Stampede and all the other ones. So that was where all the damn talent was coming from, and contrary to the hype and the BS and the double talk and whatever that they would like you to believe about NXT and all of that, I've seen a few guys come up with a little bit of, they seem to have a bit of potential, but for the most part, even the guys that have risen to the top in the last decade or so, Daniel Bryan and some of them, they never came out of that. They were doing indie shows and, wherever they could find work in the Pacific Northwest or whatever, but what the WWE, beyond not developing many, wrestlers that are comparable to the guys that they had a surplus of back in the 80s, they've killed the grassroots fan base, which is critical as well. Back in the day in any territory, whether it was Calgary or Amarillo or Portland or whatever, there was 6-7 shows a week, every week, year in, year out, in Calgary or any of those other places. And the fans were getting their fix, and they were chomping at the bit to come back the next week, and they were down there with their kids and their grandkids, and they were sustaining and resowing the seeds at the grassroots. Nowadays, they come to Calgary maybe once a year, usually with some kind of a sterile, thrown together show. They usually go out and barely go through the motions. If it's not TV or if it's not a pay-per-view or some damn thing, it's get in and get out and sell some merchandise, and it's like the circus, and the people usually leave with pretty feel like they've been ripped off and all like that, which they have been, and then they come back a year and a half later and do it again, but if you did that in any other sport, if you were sustaining your grassroots, football or baseball or hockey or whatever, it would be dead, and
Bruce,
it's a frustrating conundrum.
So far you've used the words crap, rip-off, sterile. All the context clues would indicate you didn't like the pay-per-view.
No, it's frustrating, because as I said before, the matches other than the main two were all right. They weren't bad, they were adequate, and if they had, honestly, even if they had just had the swerve or the whatever in either one of those finishes, I would have been like, well, at least you had Seth and Cena, went out and delivered or whatever. But the two most important matches, were...
They killed it. They killed them both.
Lacking, they were ill-conceived. They did nothing to... restore the propriety or the ostensible legitimacy of the belts, and the Undertaker Brock thing. I think they had some obligation to the fans to deliver a better finish, given that the first Undertaker Brock thing was, for me, it's kind of lame, and it didn't deliver either, and I thought, okay, that was the main reason they were, doing this again, and the second one was possibly even worse than the first, so, I don't want to be sounding like all I ever do is dump on those guys, because I'm really trying to cut them some slack. I'm really trying to, be objective. I like some of the stuff. Like Kevin Owen, to me, is
tremendous.
Kind of been a breath of fresh air. I thought he, aside from the outfit he wears, which I'm not sure why they have. I'm not sure what that's about. But aside from that, he's sort of like a throwback to some of the heels in the 70s and 80s, that type of thing, where he, can actually work, and understand some of the basic elements of ring psychology, the sell, the comeback. He works the crowd. He takes some bumps. He, doesn't deviate too much. Stays on one track, and those are all elements of good working, and that unfortunately seem to be dissipating or eroding in recent years. But yeah, it's not that complicated. And I hope when I'm talking about those things, I don't sound like I'm complicating it or making it out to be harder to attain than it is. It's relatively simple business, and it frustrates the hell out of me when I keep seeing them going farther and farther away from conventionality and thinking that's the answer. It's obviously reflective of the fact that they got all these eunuchs in a whorehouse, these, writers and stuff who've never been in there, have never done it, but, they're trying to incorporate all this non-wrestling crap instead of wrestling, Be like watching the NFL and, you got all of a sudden guys wearing feathers in their helmets and having divas interacting with the players during a game and all,
it would be like creating the XFL, basically, right? Well, Vince McMahon did, right? Watch the NFL, like that. That's how you feel about it. I understand.
Having he hate me on my jersey or bullshit.
He hate me now, whatever. I agree with that. And let me ask you, and I was curious to know, there was about a 13-year gap between when you were working under the WWE umbrella and then when you were at WrestleMania with your brother and that match with the Lumberjacks and all that. It's a cool perspective because not a lot of fans and not a lot of people could, you've had different experiences around the product. What was it like, in that 13-year gap, being backstage and then coming out at WrestleMania to be a part of that with your brother? I mean, what were some of the biggest differences you saw between then and at that point?
It's always been sort of bittersweet. Unfortunately, my experiences with the WWE, I can only surmise that there's politics and underlying motives and crap, but I always hate to sound like I'm purporting myself to be some kind of a know-it-all or omnipotent deity or anything like that, because I'm pretty objective and all like that, but anytime I worked for them, it was frustrating because I always sort of felt like I had some obligation to be forthright and tell them what I thought about. I know, for example, at WrestleMania when we did that thing with Brett and Vince, they ran that finish by us before the show. Several hours before the show, the day of in Phoenix, and they're all sitting there and saying they run this whole thing where I'm supposedly the referee and the Hart family's been bought off like we're a bunch of kind of unprincipled whores. We've been bought off by Vinny, and then Brett paid us even more, so we're kind of not only whores, but we're kind of not whores of our words either, all this other. But anyway, they ran that. They said, "What do you think?" Michael Hayes and Hunter and Vinny and all like that. I said, "It's your business. Obviously, you guys will do what you wish to or choose to. So I'm fine with that." I said, "Just from my outside perspective," I said, "It doesn't seem to make a whole hell of a lot of sense, and there's not that much, I don't see any return coming out of it, or any, doesn't really do justice to anything." I said, just off the top of my head, I'll tell you what I would be doing if I was you guys. And I said, given that this is Brett's first match back since his debilitating stroke or whatever that was near fatal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I said it would be fairly easy to, have it where Brett's selling his ass off. A big part of any really decent baby face is getting sympathy. It's a big part of that whole thing. So I said, Vinny's, playing the omnipotent heel or whatever. So, if Vinny was working Brett over, and whether it didn't matter if I was the referee or whether he's doing it on his own and he's got foreign objects or he's getting help from Hunter on the floor or whatever. But I said, also keep in mind, not only is this Brett's first match since the stroke, but I said you guys orchestrated some charade backstage where he got his legs slammed in a limousine door or some backstage charade where Brett was further injured. So I said, Brett's just selling his ass off, and people are, should be wondering if he's going to even survive this onslaught and, all that other. And so I said, finally, Brett starts rallying and makes his, penultimate comeback or whatever. And I said, right at that, he finally gets Vinny in the sharpshooter or whatever. And I said, right at that time, have Stephanie come, distraught to the ring and occupy the referee, and Hunter comes in and, ambushes Brett and is about to give him, is getting him ready to give the pedigree or whatever. I said at that point what I would do is have the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, who you guys might remember, had this kind of big kiss and makeup and
Monday Night Raw. I'll remember that. I'll never forget
Brett.
it. Yes.
So I said beyond that, there was some kind of falling out at Royal Rumble. You guys did something where Hunter and Shawn had some kind of a falling out over the finish. One's, kind of caused the other to be eliminated. So I said, who hits the ring? But the Heartbreak Kid, Brett's up till a few weeks ago mortal enemy, and he comes in and gives the sweet chin music to Hunter, the kick or whatever, because Hunter's, about to give Brett the pedigree, so he can't block it or whatever. And then I said, you've got, you can either have Brett go over, or you have a four-way with Brett and Shawn and Hunter and Vinny. And I said, you have all of a sudden the pieces in place for this Hell Freezes Over match that nobody would have ever expected. I said, from having been a booker myself, those are the matches that always, get the best reaction and, are breaking box office records, the ones that nobody saw coming, and that's a big part of being a successful booker is, doing stuff that is unpredictable or they didn't ever see coming. That's really what subliminally they want. They want to, for want of a better term, these mind fucks, I saw these guys listening to this stuff when I was running it by them, and they're all looking like, wow, that seems to be pretty hot. Like, why didn't we think of that or whatever the hell?
That's awesome.
And much to my kind of dismay, Brett was the one who kind of nixed it. He said, he had some, contractual restriction with his Lloyd's of London thing or some bullshit that he could only have the one match. So,
and let me ask you, Bruce, when and this is just me out of being curious, were you always in the plans for WrestleMania, or did that come about later on? Did Bret Hart come to you, or the WWE, Vinny, or even Triple H? How did that come together?
I have no great idea. The initial ostensible initiative was to induct my dad into the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And I think as an extension of that, they decided to do this thing with Brett and Vinny. And I think possibly in, putting that together, they came up with this charade where they had all the Hart family and all that stuff in there. And I was appreciative. I have this kind of warped relationship with WWE where I'm, to a degree, appreciative of some of the seemingly honorable intent. Other times I'm more frustrated with just the what they've done to the business, because I and my dad and my brothers and all, we sort of dedicated our hearts and souls to this business, and it frustrates me when all too often they're dragging it through the mud, or it's kind of not putting its best foot forward.
And let me ask you, speaking of your brothers and whatnot, today they released the the first promotional video package of Owen Hart's DVD. Owen, the Heart of Gold. I think that's what they're calling it. I want to get your thoughts. Are you happy to see this DVD come together? Were you a part of it? Did they come to your? Just let us know about that.
To be totally honest, I wasn't. I've heard some scuttlebutt about maybe a video being released or something like that.
Yeah,
some speculative scuttlebutt about that potentially being a step toward Owen being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I've been telling Vinny and others, for several years that, to be quite honest, it's an insult and affront to Owen and Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid that they're not in the damn Hall of Fame when, people like Medusa and, the Bushwhackers, who are old friends of mine, but, having those guys in and Owen or the Bulldogs not in is, it's an affront. It's like having Mark the Bird Fidrich and the San Diego Chicken in the damned Baseball Hall of Fame before you're inducting, Willie Mays and, Mickey Mantle or something like that.
And let me ask you this. Well, why do you think it's taken them so long to have this out? I mean, even Davey, British Bulldog, why do you think it's taken them so long? I mean, do you have any,
honestly, don't
it's
know.
Tough for me as a fan. I think it should have been done, and I'd love to hear your point of view on your thoughts on it.
I think to preserve this ostensible propriety or the legitimacy or whatever of that Hall of Fame, that it has to be more based on wrestling, not politics or whatever. I have nothing against Mike Von Erich or Chris Von Erich or Medusa or Sherry Martel or Bob Uecker or William Perry or whatever the hell, but
the fridge.
I keep seeing these people like that. They're I hate to say it, they're almost more the rule than the exception. And adding to it, they have they've chosen to induct a number of people who are non-WWE or WWF performers, that including my dad or some of these other guys. But if they're going to do that, then it begs the obvious question: how come Lou Thez is not in the Hall of Fame, or Frank Gotch, or some of these other giants? Like Lou Thez isn't just some guy who was over a bit. He was like the face of the NWA, which was the main wrestling organization in the world for several decades. So for a guy like Lou Thez or Frank Gotch or Strangler Lewis or George Hackenschmidt or Whipper Watson or Danny Hodge or guys like that to be excluded, and yet they're putting in Mike Von Erich and the Bushwhackers, Medusa, and I think Medusa's only claim to fame is not endeavoring to denounce or whatever, but is taking the WWF belt and dumping it on a garbage can on Nitro, on WCW. Like, whatever she did in the ring was
irrelevant,
relatively
What about
insignificant as far as I recall. I don't recall her being like the face of women's wrestling or anything, So.
And let me ask you this: what would it mean to you to have Owen and inducted? I mean, having this DVD come out, maybe it is a precursor to having him finally this upcoming Hall of Fame. But what would it mean to you and the Hart family? And I mean, what would it mean to you, Bruce?
At this point, I have to say it would be a mixed feeling because if only because they haven't thus far even chosen to do it, which in its own way is somewhat of a slap in the face. That it's taken this long, and they haven't. I would say the same was the case with Randy Savage. It's like finally at last that the fact that he was overlooked for so many years, and unfortunately till after he died. In the meantime, they had all these other guys that couldn't carry his jock or lace up his tights that were being inducted. It's sort of it's like bittersweet, or the glass is half empty, half full type thing. To see that, I'd like to see Owen and the Bulldogs inducted, if only because it's a tribute to them. They're certainly worthy of it, and I think it would mean something to their families. Obviously, I think and I am sure that's one of the main trepidations they have is incurring Martha's displeasure, or she might, I'm doubtful that she would even support it, frankly, but at the same time, I think if they did it in a tasteful, non-exploitative, sincere manner, then I think, it would kind of diminish the magnitude of Martha's displeasure if she was denouncing it or criticizing them, but
I mean, do you think the WWE has been scared of having I hate talking about it, but having this bad publicity stir up again, the way he passed away? You think that's been one of those things hindering? There's a cloud over it. You think that's what's been holding them back?
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of dynamics. It's pretty. It's a sensitive issue,
Definitely.
And even my advocating that Owen should be in the Hall of Fame, I wouldn't want anyone, say if Martha was listening to this, I wouldn't want anyone thinking that I was taking lightly or, trivializing, what happened, because I'm certainly not. horrible tragedy. But at the same time, my belief is that Owen himself, would have wanted to be honored as such. He took great pride in his craft and being, a great worker, and he was very proud of, the status he attained in the WWE, and so by that token, I think, honestly believe that he would be proud and honored to be in that Hall of Fame, and I'd say the same about Davey Boy and Dynamite, and I've said it many times with Dynamite especially. It's kind of a shame that most people's perceptions of him are just what he did in the WWE, because
he did a lot of other stuff. Yeah.
Anyone who's actually around the wrestling business or is familiar with him knows that he was, way, way better before he ever got to the WWE. His body was beaten up. He had blown his knees out and his back was shot, and he was just really a shadow of what he had been earlier, and he was, if you talk to most guys that ever worked with him or were in the business with him, he would rank in the top 5 of almost anyone's list of the best workers of all time. He was that good, and best thing about Dynamite was he had this unique, uncanny ability to make whoever he was working with look way better than they had any right to look, myself included, and Brett and all them. He was one of those guys that whatever you did in a match, he devoted almost 90% of his blood, sweat, and tears into getting the other guy over. And he still was more than capable of getting himself over. But, there's not too many guys that are even in his league, since, there's only a handful that, and so, for him not to be in the Hall of Fame is, especially, I mentioned that to WWE, he's, as you guys may know, he's not in great health. He's had some pretty serious health issues, and it would be kind of nice to see him inducted while he's still alive, unlike, say, Randy Savage and some of them, but...
And let me ask you, do you, and it's just because we're getting questions in and whatnot, for you, you're close to the family, would you prefer to see, the Kid and Davey Boy and Owen Hart inducted separately, or would it mean the same if they were, everybody was inducted as, a group, the Hart Foundation? I mean, what would you personally like to see? Or what do you think means the most? I mean, at this point,
or would you be would you be offended if that they took the easy way out and just to appease people of seeing?
I would say if the Bulldog, if and when they choose to induct Dynamite and Davey, I think it would probably be probably a package deal. Like, I won't be inducting Bushwhacker Luke one year and then Bushwhacker Butch the next year, some damn thing like that, But, for all intents and purposes, the Bulldogs were never really singles guys ever, and Davey was after Dynamite disappeared.
Yes.
Up till that time, there was just the Bulldogs, so I would think that it would be best if they were inducted together. I'd mentioned it to WWE that I frankly think Owen would be deserving of just being inducted by himself, but at the same time it might kind of be more palatable or easier for them to explain. If Martha's, bitterly opposed to, which is quite possible, that you had Owen, Davey, and Dynamite, like this iconic Stampede Wrestling trio coming in together, you know, kind of like a bit like the Von Erichs or something like that. So it would make it a little less, you know, hard for her to, you know, protest it as much if you're, you know, if he's part of this triage or whatever, you know. But so that's sort of how I feel about that. But
and let me ask you, you know, we touch on it a bit, you know, when we spoke the other day on a personal conversation, and just to get your insight, and you could go as far deep as you want. You know, when that Tyson Kidd was injured pretty bad recently, and I just want to know if have you heard anything new about him, and you know, with Natty and all that. I mean, you know, any insight on that, and how was you know, you told me a little bit about how you received the call and you found out about it and how injured he is. I wanted to see your insight. I know it's a big deal, really big injury he has right now.
Yeah, I don't know that much about
Mm-hmm.
I never did see the I was taken aback when I heard about, you know, the just the way the WWE apparently handled it. You know, I was told that you know, he injured his neck quite badly in that match with Samoa Joe or whatever, but I was told that he was, when he was in the dressing room after, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. There was one agent.
I think it was, who was it? Maybe Michael P. What was it? Michael Hayes or somebody? I don't remember.
No, not Hayes. It was some Carrillo or
yeah,
some guy like that. I hadn't heard the name before, but I was told he indifferently said, "Go take a shower," and he said, "No, my neck's really fucked up," and I was told this guy said, "Well, you know, we're not going to pay for an ambulance, whatever, you know." It's and so, you know, and they were almost making out like he was, you know, some kind of a hypochondriac or a wimp or something. So my niece Nettie, you know, his wife or whatever, she. They said, if you want to go to the hospital, it's your choice or whatever, you know. But so she set out for the hospital, and she got lost in San Antonio or whatever, and she finally got there after some kind of, you know, driving around and all this other. And when they got there, they did the CAT scans and the MRIs and all like that. They, you know, immediately determined that it was a near fatal injury that was just a fraction of an inch from either being, a fatality or, you know, paralysis from the neck down type thing, you know. So they notified the WWE of this, and I was told there was only a few, 3 or 4 places in the United States where they could actually perform this type of microsurgery that would, stabilize and
treat him,
kind of do what they needed to for his neck. So they had to at that point charter some kind of an air ambulance or something like that from San Antonio to Florida, which is the closest place. Like, there's apparently no place even in Texas that did this type of surgery. So I heard that cost about $100,000 for the air ambulance. and they had to fly him back to Florida for that. And At this point, I was told they haven't made any contact. Like WWE hasn't called or anything. You know, I've been told that some of the wrestlers have checked, called TJ. That's what I know him as. They call him Tyson.
Yeah,
bogus name, but but you know they at this point, you know, it's as far as I'm told, it's certain that his career is over. You know, he's been told that he's fortunate not to be a quadriplegic or like Darren Drozdick or maybe dead. You know, so it was. It's frustrating when I heard about it, you know, the fact that it was just kind of a thrown together thing, and I was told that TJ wasn't even supposed to wrestle that night. He was the only reason he happened to be there at all that night. They were doing some kind of a promotion thing for Sonic or Slurpees or something like that, and he happened to be there, and somebody wanted Samoan Joe to get, you know, have a dark match, or you know, they wanted to see him work, and somebody said throw him in with TJ, and you know, it was kind of a hastily arranged, not very well, you know, orchestrated, whatever, and you know, when you do stuff like that, it's kind of inviting, you know, kind of injury or accidents, and that's pretty much what happened, you know, and it's too damn bad, you know. I don't like to sound like I'm railing on the present day wrestlers, but one of the things that, you know, pisses me off, and it's a step in the wrong direction altogether, is these guys are doing way too many what we used to call effing high spots, and
being too creative, right?
Wrestling.
Yes.
You need to actually have some wrestling as the foundation or the main course in order to make a high spot mean something. If you did a fraction, you know, if you did maybe, you know, 10% of the high spots you're doing, but you did them at a more propitious time, then they would mean more. Instead, what they've converted into is stuff that people used to react to as almost, you know, ho-hum. And even if they choose to react to it, they're not allowed to, because these idiot, you know, these moron wrestlers that are, you know, don't know how to work, before the fans had even had a chance to digest or react to something, these morons are going into the next high spot, the next high spot. So after a while, the fans don't even cheer because, you know, they don't feel like their input's got any bearing on anything anyway, you know, and so it's all, you know, convoluted and ass backward, but a high spot ceases to be a high spot in my estimation. If all you're doing is effing high spots, you may as well go out and be a break dancer, a damned wannabe Evel Knievel, or a damned, you know, circus performer who probably has to shovel elephant shit after the circus, you know, in order to justify your, you know, $100 a week salary or some bullshit, you know. But forgive my cynicism, you know. But
I mean, it blows my mind. It's a sad story. I mean, and you know, you know the story because you're around.
Yeah, the frustrating part
how many times does this happen? You know, I mean, besides, you know, with TJ and every, it blows my mind. It blows my mind.
The sad part about it is I see the potential for that all the time, and I shake my head and saying, you know, why are they doing this? You know, you need not, you know, be putting these guys at risk like that. You know, you need to go back to wrestling. Wrestling is still supposed to be the operative word, not, you know, falling off the top of cages and doing these, you know, for me, a sign of how fucked up it all is when you have a whole pay-per-view of tables, ladders, chairs. somebody needs to remind these people that none of these matches mean anything. You know, these stipulation matches, if you don't have some pretext for having them. In my day, you know, if you had a cage match, it was the culmination of all this, whatever preceded it, and that was finally the only way that you could unload or, you know, resolve this, you know, build-up, was to have a cage or a chain match or a Texas death match or lumberjack or whatever the hell.
Essentially, the cage
you don't just have those matches for the hell of it, and it drives me nuts when I see a whole card of tables, ladders, chairs, elimination chamber matches, and all this other between guys who don't even have any, you know, ostensible issues with each other. And, you know, like, you know, why is Sheamus having a cage match with, you know, Kevin Owens or something like that? They don't even have any, you know, any issues with each other and all that. You know,
Bruce, to prove your point, even after a lot of these shows, like after SmackDown tapings and Raw tapings, they'll toss up a cage, and it'll be some random guys that have no beef, and they'll go at it. I witnessed it
just
in
for
person
the sake of
at
saying,
a SmackDown. Yeah, it's just
for the sake of saying that there's a cage match. Watch this.
Yeah, and what really drives me nuts, guys, is the only reason for having an effing cage match is to keep the two guys in there.
Exactly.
So instead, they contradict the whole purpose of the effing thing by having the stupid little door, and they reward the guy who escapes. And it's like, there should be no escape.
They win the match that way, too, now.
Yeah. You know, the gutless chicken shit coward that escaped is the winner, and he's given the belt. And I'm going like, it's a complete contradiction or a bastardization of whatever.
Yeah.
The only reason, you know, in my day when you had a cage match, there was no little door or fuck all, you know, it was, you know.
I think I remember too. It was Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair's back in the day. And they wrestled an entire match inside the cage because they hated each other, and that was it. They used the cage.
Oh, yeah, you finally had to have justice.
Submit. That's it.
Justice is served finally, you know, there's no escape, you know, the chicken shit heel can't run or hide, or, you know, and no way out or whatever, you know, and that was why the fans paid to see it, because they figured finally the face is going to, have justice and win the belt and all like that. And so, yeah, it drives me nuts when you have these, stip matches, and then you contradict, the very meaning of it by having the chicken shit heel rewarded for escaping or some crap like that. Like somebody needs to, give those guys, some kind of an education on what these stipulations are even pertaining to, but I don't know. I hate to sound like I'm just criticizing, hopefully I'm not sounding like that, but they need to be, it needs to be more method to the madness, for want of a better term. You got to have more thought put into things, and you need to have more finishes in the middle for, a hot or a swerve finish to mean anything, and you've got to minimize the, it drives me nuts when I see on a card, when I see it's essentially underneath jabroni types doing high spots all night and all. When I was breaking in, and most of the veterans will tell you that, I remember the green guys in the preliminary, the opening matches and stuff were doing high spots, so they were doing nut shots, so they were going out and hitting guys with chairs or getting juice and stuff like that. The veterans would ream their asses out in the dressing room after, or they'd maybe get fired. It's like, some opening act, preceding the Rolling Stones and going out and smashing guitars and stomping on gerbils or whatever the hell they do, And, the Rolling Stones would, fire them, or, and that's, the way it should be. You don't need the cartoon or the previews at a movie to, top the movie, and the bookers I don't even know what who orchestrates the finishes or gives them out or oversees that in WWE anymore, but and I honestly think there should only be one person, I might add, doing that. Not, you don't need 18 people undermining Bill Belichick, in the Super Bowl game. Let him, and the buck has to stop someplace. But I see that all the time where, you have these Divas matches, and frankly, and not to rail on the Divas or digress here, but I would only have the Divas on maybe, every now and then, maybe once or twice a year. I don't know what you do with them the rest of the time or what the hell, but, to me, they're not meant to be on every damned show. In my day, we'd have the girls come up and or the midgets maybe once a year, and that was that. Maybe 1 week or 2 weeks at the most, and enough, good riddance, and there's no appetite for them after that. And, some of them aren't bad workers. Most of them are abysmal, though, and, to me, the novelty's no longer there, and I've said it before, too, I think it's more the road to ruin than the road to salvation to have the 24/7 network. I don't know how that is going to sustain itself, say, a year from now. I don't know what new material, they've already inflicted virtually everything in their library on everyone already, the old pay-per-views and the old, Legends House and all that other stuff, I don't know where they're going to get, a new bunch of stuff, if there's some promotion that we've never heard of that was underground for the last 50 years or something. Maybe they have something that I don't know of, but I don't even know, and beyond all that, I find if you overdose or shove so much of that down people's throat, there's no, I can't even imagine what kind of a brain dead, mutant or whatever could watch 24/7 a day, if that, I don't know whether anyone does, or,
So is that,
maybe I'm, underestimating their passion or something,
it's as Evan says, some of them need to get out of their parents' basements.
Yeah, some need to get out of the parents' basement, that's for sure.
Bruce, I was at the gym Monday night at 8:30, and there were 20 TVs at the gym, and I'm looking across the entire row. Not one of them had wrestling on. There's a whole world outside of WWE.
The world's coming to an end.
Imagine?
And it's frustrating, there's so many, seemingly flagrant contradictions, where they go to great lengths to assert that it's entertainment and it's work and it's not to be taken seriously and all this other, and then they, have this so-called tough enough, and they're making out like we're supposed to perceive that to be real or whatever, I can't fathom all the, inconsistency there, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's every bit as rigged and worked and based on, butt kissing or making impressions or whatever as anything else, and yet somehow they're trying to make out like it's, some kind of a quasi-shoot or something like that. I can't wrap my head around the rationale of so many of these things. Maybe I'm trying to be too analytic or rational or whatever the hell. I don't know. But too many of those things, one cancels out the other, and if you get too many things canceling too many other things, the whole thing shrivels down to like kind of a dried up turd or something like that, which isn't marketable, but I don't know. I hate to sound like I'm just kind of dumping on them, but it frustrates you when you see opportunities missed, and they're certainly not putting their best foot forward.
And let me ask you, I know like with Evan and yourself, I mean, I know it's tough for both of you to watch the WWE sometimes, but at your core and at your heart, it's got to be pretty cool to see that wrestling it's still around. I mean, are you guys still happy to know that Vince, in his own way, has been able to have wrestling live at a mainstream for so long, or would you rather just have it how it used to be? I mean, and they used to sell out arenas now, but I just want your take. I mean, from then and now, are you guys still happy? You still talking? Say, you're here.
Quite honestly, and from a totally unselfish perspective, just from somebody who's been in the wrestling business and has, it's been a big part of my family and most of the people I know. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see the wrestling business, kind of improve itself or revamp itself for the next generation.
What would it take to do that?
I think they need to resow the seeds at the grassroots. They need to reestablish smaller territories, and they need to not be perceiving smaller territories to be a threat, or they don't need to think they need to own or control. Like back in the day, as we were talking about when WWE was first in the early stages of Hulkamania and all like that. To me, that was one of the most egregious mistakes and blunders that they ever made. Was I'm not sure if it was insecurity or egocentricity or megalomania or whatever the hell, but they should never. There was no reason or justification for going to the inordinate lengths they did to eliminate Stampede Wrestling or AWA or whatever they had in Portland or Florida or Georgia or St. Louis or Oklahoma or Louisiana or whatever.
Yeah, they bought everything.
What they should have, if you could imagine Major League Baseball, doing everything in its power to eliminate minor league baseball and little league and all of that, or the NBA, the NFL and NBA deciding that college basketball and football are a threat, so we've got to wipe them off the map. That's pretty much what the WWE did, and since they've done that, they basically killed the grassroots of the business, but they also eliminated most of where the great talent was coming from, and it's mind-boggling because you find yourself saying, all those promotions like my dad's or whatever, all they were doing was providing, a non-stop supply of people like Owen Hart and Brian Pillman and Chris Benoit and Davey Boy Smith and Bret Hart and Jake Roberts and all these others, and they weren't paying anything for any of that, and same with Portland was sending guys like Rick Martel and Roddy Piper and Vern Gagne was selling guys like Kurt Hennig and Jesse Ventura and Hawk and Animal and Hulk Hogan and all like that. He never paid any. So why would they go to such lengths to?
Bruce, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. This past weekend, the SummerSlam weekend, that Saturday, NXT ran same time, same borough as Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor. I was at the Ring of Honor show, of course. Ring of Honor has fed them Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, etc., so on. So they're going up against what's pretty much their own feeder system. Okay, it's just ruthless, ruthless. Of all the towns to run, they had to run right against Ring of Honor, same night, same time. I mean,
it's frustrating because I believe there's plenty out there for everyone, and one of the other, even if WWE was, doing a lot better job of developing talent than they are, one of the key things is diversity. That was one of the things that made those guys back in the 80s. Even I, as a fan, when I see WWE, I was intrigued with how guys from different backgrounds would mesh, and that was a big part of it. You got guys like Kurt Hennig coming from, Minneapolis. You got guys like Kerry Von Erich coming from Fritz's territory. You got guys like Bulldogs and Brett coming from Calgary, or you got Piper coming from Portland or places like that. And they all had different styles, but that was one of the things that was intriguing and, made it what it was. Nowadays, it's even if they're getting trained very well in NXT, and I don't believe they are, they're all coming from the same cookie cutter factory, so there's not much diversity. And I've said it for years that even if they had the best training under the sun at NXT, you still need to send these guys somewhere for a year or two. You can take little kids and teach, even if they're incredible athletes and all like that, they still need to go play Little League and, university or whatever before they get to the majors. But it's not even fair to these wrestlers, even if they are, and in most cases they're not, to expect them. There's so many little subtleties that you pick up when you're just working on the road, and you're, so many little things we used to pick up when you're on the road with these old veterans, and you'd be, on a 10-hour trip coming back from Saskatchewan or something. That was where you learned so many of these things. You'd have, be a captive audience, and you'd have these old farts schooling you, and quite often they weren't that diplomatic either.
And I agree. And here's a question that, I don't know if I'm crossing the line here. I'm very curious to know if you, me, or even Evan, or even John were in the position of Vince McMahon. He's the owner of this wrestling company. He was never really a wrestler or an entertainer, and all he did was look at the numbers. That's what he did, and that's how he's made his business. And he started seeing that branding someone like Hulk Hogan with Hulkamania and stuff like that was best for his business. Bruce, I know you're wrestling hardcore. Evan, even me. I mean, I love wrestling to its core. But do you think if even one of the four of us was in that position, would we take wrestling to its core? Or, Bruce, would you try to find a balance where I create my brand, make a multi-billion-dollar company, and say, fuck the rest? Like, that's what I think Vince McMahon does. I'm not trying to defend Vince McMahon. My question is, looking at it as Vince, he not a wrestler or whatever the case is, but, I'm quick to bash him too, but, he created something. We're talking about wrestling right now, or in sports entertainment, how he calls it. How would he do things differently? If you were in his position, I mean, and that's a difficult thing to do because we don't see things through his eyes.
Yeah.
What is your take? And no disrespect.
Without sounding too simplistic or naive, I think he should have been a lot more interactive and supportive of, people like, I surmise that he either didn't trust most of the other promoters, like my dad or the
Never.
Eddie Grahams or the Fritz or Vern or Sam Muchnick or whoever, I'm not sure if he didn't trust them or he just wanted to kind of be like Attila the Hun or one of those, scorched earth policy or whatever the hell. But I think ultimately, though, they need to objectively sit down and recognize that I think a big part of their problem, and if they try to, and it seems like they're trying to convince people that everything's better than ever and their ratings are better and all this other, but just from a simplistic perspective, it's quite obvious, and just by the fact that every time you turn around, they're pushing a guy like Sting, or they're pushing, some, long over the hill blast from the past, and, they're bringing Dwayne Johnson back for a cameo appearance, or they're bringing The Undertaker back for, what that basically tells me, at least, is there's not too many new guys on the way up that, have the cachet or the ability or whatever that they can carry the ball. And it's all well and good if you, every now and then you have some guy like Mario Lemieux or something comes back from something and, has a bit of a run, but it's few and far between in most other sports, and it's almost the rule rather than the exception in WWE. And I don't watch NXT that often, but even if they were turning the best wrestlers under the sun out in that, what they need to do with those guys is send them out to, somewhere where nobody in the WWE universe or whatever sees them. That used to be the MO back in the day. Vern Gagne would send you, some guy that he thought was a hot prospect, and they would work Calgary for a year or whatever and go back, and they would come back and hit the ground running like some kind of a Superman or whatever. And that's what NXT, and I don't think those guys are Supermen for the most part, but the last thing you want to do with some guy who's a really hot prospect, in my estimation, is have everyone see them.
So do you think
at the embryonic stage when they're, kind of a trial and error, hit and miss rookie, and they got a lame name, and they're, all that other. His image is everything, as Andre Agassi or somebody used to say, and so in the old days when a guy hit the territory, and Vince should know that better than anyone, because he used to have guys like King Kong Bundy and them, and they would, destroy S.D. Jones in 6 seconds, and, and you have to have these guys perceived as Supermen, kind of like the shark in Jaws or something like that. But if everyone's already seen them and they're saying, "Oh, that's Joe Blow from NXT," he used to be, but he's getting better now. That's not the way to really create those kind of compelling images that they need to create. And they should. This is all sort of standard stuff, or at least, I perceived it to be that when I was breaking in and coming up in the business. This is, stuff that it was kind of regularly understood. Guys needed to, do this in order to, be perceived to be monster heels and all this other. But,
so do you think
everything they do is a complete departure from, the stuff that I kind of was brought up on as far as what working was about, protecting the ostensible integrity of the business and all this other, it's like kind of any success they have is in spite of themselves, not because of their omnipotence and brilliance, and I don't like to sound cynical, that's about the way I see it, more often than not, they're shooting themselves in the foot and hitting the bullseye, there should be a lot more method to the so-called madness.
Do you think a better approach would be kind of like what they did in the 90s as far as having talent and booking talent, in the early 90s when Hogan and Savage and Luger and Flair were all, and Warrior were gone, or their careers were winding down.
Mainly a byproduct of the steroid, scandal. From what I heard, that's why all of a sudden
But do you think
most of the guys you mentioned were all of a sudden these mere mortals like Brett and Shawn Michaels kind of replaced these,
But do you think as far as like from a booking perspective, touching on Al's question, do you think a better point of view to have with it would be like what Vince has now, where he can go to the well and get the guys like The Undertaker and Sting and The Rock, like you mentioned? Or do you think a better way to do it would be, like back in the 90s when the steroids started taking their effect on those guys, and Vince had to take a step back and realize, okay, well, I don't have those options anymore. I got to go look in-house, and I've got Bret Hart, and I've got Shawn Michaels, and I've got The Undertaker. These younger guys, I might as well just see what they can do instead of going back to the well and getting the same old guys to come out and do the same old thing again when I have these newer guys that could do something even better.
Oh, totally. And, I frankly find it kind of counterproductive and offensive to make out like you have to have some bullshit contest like Tough Enough and all like that. Mm-hmm. What they should be doing is, if I was them, I would be just endeavoring to, kind of, even if they were financing, though, I would be setting up these territories, and and you don't need to spend that much to do that by setting up these territories in different outposts, maybe one in Europe, maybe half a dozen in the States, two.
So kind of take like the NXT idea, but do it in a bunch of different locales.
Scouting, and I have no doubt there's a hell of a lot better prospects and athletes out there than is getting into the WWE. You
didn't like the guy with the alligator on his head?
I didn't see him.
Okay.
I'm trying to refrain from inflicting.
Okay.
You really didn't miss that much.
But all I'm saying, is Calgary's not that big of a place, but my dad, he was old school, as you guys know, but he would be endeavoring to bring, for all intents and purposes, athletes and guys with some amateur backgrounds, or, he had a lot of football players, a few bodybuilders like Billy Graham and something like that, but, there was a myriad of legendary guys came out of Calgary, and I've often wondered, like, if you had more guys that had a similar mindset to Stu, and you were, endeavoring to produce, guys of that caliber. I think there's all kinds of prospects out there, and if you taught them, essentially the same way that, they were taught back in the dungeon, which is pretty systematic, it was mostly about wrestling and simulating realism and understanding the facets of ring psychology, the sell sets up the comeback, and, whatever you do it for a reason. And it's pretty purposeful and systematic, just like any other type of education. if you had guys like that, and there was, you know, a number of other places like in States or England or Japan or whatever, I think, you know, if you restored some semblance of legitimacy in the art to the wrestling, then you would not need to be having to do all this, you know, horseshit, you know, the gimmicks and the extremism and the, you know, the tits and ass and the overkill and all like that. You know, as a rule, you know, we used to refer to that, or my dad used to refer to that as hot-shotting, you know, and that was always a sign of, you know, a territory was on its, you know, in a tailspin, or they were in desperation. They were having cage matches and tar and feather matches and, you know, midgets and bald-headed lady wrestlers and all this stuff, you know. And you know, and I remember that was almost kind of like, there was a guy that Evans probably heard of. He was kind of like the guy named Jack Pfeffer, you know, and he became almost you know, poster child for all the ills of the wrestling business. But I think, you know, I keep saying, I hate to sound like I'm just sort of like some embittered old veteran who's, you know, taking shots at the geniuses in Connecticut, because I'm really not trying to do that. You know, any criticism I think should strive to be constructive, you know, and I think if for nobody else than the fans, you need to you know, start re-examining what this is, and ultimately you need to be able to define what your objectives are and all this other, you know, and I hate to say it, I have doubts that anyone in there has any clear, definitive, you know, answer. If I said, what are you actually seeking to accomplish, or what is the image or direction you're trying to go, or whatever. And you know, more often than not, it's, if they gave me a rational answer, it would be contradicted by whatever I saw on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown the next week, because they'll have one step forward and three steps backward. They'll go to great lengths to have some match like, say, Randy Orton and Kevin Owen have a pretty good match, and then they'll bring the Miz out, or the Divas, or Hornswoggle, or you know, one of the Brand X tag teams, you know, with masks and whatever the hell else. But you know, so I always see this sort of one step forward, two steps backward kind of being inflicted on me on a regular basis. On, you know, anytime I watch, you know, and it shouldn't be that way, you know. It should be, you know, and as I said before, it's probably reflective of there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And if it's not that, then the cook that is in the kitchen's got a severe case of schizophrenia or something, because there's too many things that, you know, totally contradict and negate each other.
There you go. John? Alfonso?
Yeah, we're here. You know, and this is my last question. I mean, Bruce, if you think if you were, and I tried to ask the question before, I don't think I was able to do it. So if you were in Vince McMahon's shoes, I mean, you're seeing. Do you think that he saw the numbers and he saw the branding of what Hulkamania did, and he saw there was more to the entertainment side, and he saw the dollar bill signs. And it's hard, you know, I'm sure it's hard for you to be able to answer because you're a wrestler, hardcore wrestler. I mean, do you think that you would have done the same thing?
Wrestling in itself, I know damn well, is and should be entertaining. So anyone who has this misconception that, well, you know, we're compromising the entertainment by stressing the wrestling doesn't get it, you know. If you're doing wrestling the right way, it's a very compelling form of entertainment, and you compromise the perceptible propriety of it when you, you know, deviate into a bunch of crap. Like, it say you had a serious movie like maybe Schindler's List or something like that, I wouldn't be needing to see Pee Wee Herman cameos throughout that show or something like that in order to make it still entertaining. But I see WWE, they'll have a serious match or a serious angle or whatever, and then they'll have the Divas come out and do something, or they'll have Hornswoggle, or they'll have the Miz come out and they have a sewage truck come out and spray shit all over everyone or something like that.
So do you think? This is my question. Do you think that everything changed when WWF officially said, you know what, we're gonna officially announce it, wrestling is fake? Do you think that's when everything changed and said, you know what, this has to be more based on entertainment? Because my audience knows that everything we're pushing is scripted. Is that when you think everything changed?
I think it's cause and effect, as I was
Definitely
stating. If I didn't make that clear enough, but one of the reasons for the proliferation of irrelevant, irrational crap is they don't have that many guys, from my perspective, that actually can wrestle. There's few and far between guys that I would put in the same league as some of the guys we were talking about before, like the Dynamite Kids and the Kurt Hennigs and the Owens and all like that. So because they have so few guys that actually can wrestle, then they have to overdose, the stuff that they're, with excessive talking and these, tits and ass and swerve finishes and, going through the timekeeper's table on every single show, not once or twice, but about 5 times, and all this other stuff that, isn't even wrestling, but it's mostly because, in my estimation, there's not that many guys that actually can wrestle. And the wrestlers are so desensitized, if they hear some clown in the audience going boring or whatever, they immediately shift into high spots, which is just kind of the tail wagging the dog type thing, which, is not the way it should be. But, complicating it, as you guys probably know, whenever I've been at the WWE, you got these poor referees, and they always have an earpiece on, and then somebody who's usually a eunuch in a whorehouse type, some, non-wrestling scriptwriter who maybe got on there because he was on the Days of Our Lives or something like that, is, funneling in, pick it up or high spot or keep moving or something like that, and so there's all these things that kind of are compromising, what wrestling should be. But I don't know. I hate to sound like I'm pissing on their parade or whatever the hell, but I think for the sake of the fans and for the for the business to regain some sense of what it was and what it can be, it needs to really re-examine those things. And I don't think it would be that hard for them to do that, but I think one of the first things you've got to do, though, is look at yourself in the mirror. And I don't think they want to acknowledge or admit or whatever that there's some serious overhaul needing to be undertaken if they're going to kind of reestablish themselves, or maybe sustain themselves into the next generation.
Absolutely.
I have some serious doubts about that. I would never be that stupid to say, well, the business isn't going to survive. As I said before, it's sort of like sport or entertainment version of a cockroach. It'll still somehow they're emerge, but it shouldn't be like that. It should be, in my estimation, it should be way bigger, way better, way better received. The foundation of it, the grassroots or whatever, should be, considerably better than what it is, and it's certainly not putting its best foot forward or, maximizing its potential. And if any of them tried to tell me or tell you that they were maximizing their potential, I would, for want of a better term, tell them they're full of shit.
And ultimately, time will tell whether or not, wrestling as a whole, definitely WWE survives the course, given how they're going right now. But Bruce, before we get ready to let you go, we wanted to do a little bit of a name association, if that's okay with you.
Oh, sure.
We got a few names, and just say what the first thing that comes to mind for the name. Is that all right?
Sure.
All right. Give me just 1 second. I had the list here. I'm sorry. All right. So first up, we have Bret Hart. Jim,
my brother.
Jim Neidhart.
My brother.
I knew you were going to say that.
I have a feeling I know where this one's going. Davey Boy Smith.
I think Bret's a great worker. He, I don't agree with everything he's done, but I think he's a great worker, and hopefully he'll be remembered as such.
Davey Boy Smith.
I think he was a pretty good worker, and sad to see what happened to him.
Dynamite Kid.
I'd say possibly the best worker of the modern generation, and one of a kind, and sad to see his demise, but way better than most people even realize.
Chris Jericho.
A great entertainer and a nice guy too. So.
Jushin Thunder Liger.
Another great worker and a very good person too. 2 thumbs up.
I'm going to switch up the order on these a little bit. Evan Ginsberg.
A brilliant sage in wrestling's answer to William Shakespeare.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love it.
That's very nice.
And Truman Capote here.
I could not touch Truman Capote as a writer, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I'm just saying.
Chris Benoit.
Who else?
Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit.
Tragic, great worker. Sad to see what happened.
Just a few left. John Cena.
I've actually been more impressed with John in the last 6 months than I was in the last 10 years. He's actually made some strides, and I think he's doing his best. So I hope he continues going the direction he's going.
Hulk Hogan.
I sort of feel sorry for the poor Hulk. He's been kind of raked through the coals. I think unjustifiably. Actually a pretty damn good guy, and he, in his own way, carried that promotion on his shoulders. And I don't believe for a second he's a racist either, but I sort of feel sorry for the poor bastard. And he didn't do whatever the hell his kids and some of the other people around him, they're the ones who should be raked over the coals, not him. So I hope he rises above this, and I'm surprised that Benny and them aren't supporting him more. It's kind of shameful on their part.
Triple H.
I've always found him to be not a bad guy. The few times that I met him, I don't know whether to attribute a lot of the stuff that I'm criticizing to him or whatever, but I think if he is the CEO or the COO or whatever, he needs to take the bull by the horns, and if he is orchestrating the stuff that has been going down, then he needs to be listening to your program and hearing some of the stuff that we're saying.
Vince McMahon.
It's an enigma, Vinny. I actually think he's a better person than people perceive him to be. He seems to be somehow or other has this propensity for submitting himself to even like what Brett did in Phoenix and all like that. But I think Vinny needs to either take the bull by the horns or maybe walk away from it, one or the other. I don't know. Just my detached perspective.
Seth Rollins.
I like Seth, and his cronies are all right, Dean Ambrose and all that bunch. But I think some of the things that he does don't seem to enhance his image, and I think he needs to get back to more wrestling too. In recent months or whatever, he seems to have got away from wrestling and deviated into gimmicks and catchphrases and crap. It should complement his wrestling, not be the main course.
And lastly, and those are always my favorite to do, Bruce Hart.
The brother of the exalted hitman,
And oh, God.
An enigma or some such thing, whatever you want to perceive me as.
All right, so since I asked about Evan, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this.
Yeah.
Bob Johnson.
Bob Johnson's a pretty damn good guy, pretty sincere, and he tries hard, and his heart's in the right place. So.
Awesome stuff, man. And I think Al had one more comment to make.
No, that's it. I mean, Bruce, I appreciate you being on the show, and
I hope I wasn't too long-winded or whatever.
As a wrestling fan, I mean, this is what I love to do, and your stories, they mean a lot to me, and I know they mean a lot to the people listening. I mean, not everybody has been in your shoes, and I'm so appreciative of having you on the show. And I know, Evan, I mean, any closing thoughts? I'm going to call you out, Evan. One name association. What do you associate Bruce with?
Bruce Hart. I used to see Bruce as a heel manager in an indie in Queens about 20 years ago. We had
Lou and
that's right.
Lou and
Falcon Caparis. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
we used to pronounce it slightly different than Falcon, I might add, but
okay, but
Caparis or something like that.
But I used to so enjoy watching Bruce as a heel manager and all his brilliant booking. Everybody throws out the word genius and brilliant to the point where they're keeping it, but Bruce really is a brilliant wrestling mind. I mean, he was born into this his whole life. He spent doing this, and I'm proud to call him a friend, and I hope we have lots of projects together down the road. We're working on various documentaries.
Yeah, I very much and I think it's people like you guys who are a vital and integral part of the hopefully the renaissance of the wrestling business. It's got to sort of start at the grassroots, and there's I'm happy to see an increasing number of people like you guys, and some of these other people that I've talked to, and you might be familiar with them, like the Sanctuary, John Trotsky, and some of these other people, and that's where it needs to almost start at the grassroots, and verbalize and discuss, and I think that's one of the main reasons I'm on here, and why I'm babbling on as I am, because I still fervently believe the wrestling fans, deserve better, and
I feel your pain, Bruce. When I'm watching SummerSlam, and Lesnar and Undertaker is an excellent match, and Rollins and Cena is an excellent match, and they ended it in a circus-like manner, it just kills it dead for me.
I'm glad you said that, because I would sound like an idiot if and I didn't say that. They were both very good matches up till, the finish, and then the finish was,
cartoonish.
Yeah, and it killed all the whatever they had done. I exactly felt the same way you were saying when I was watching it. I was going, geez, Brock and Taker, Taker especially was impressing me. Like, they're doing some pretty damn good stuff, and same with Cena and Seth. Especially Cena. I was going, geez, they're actually raising the bar. And then the finish, and I'm going, here we go again, and it's like completely, obliterated whatever they had done in their match, which is too damn bad.
You should get New Japan World. It's $8 or $9 a month. They have 35 years of classic Japanese content, and it's treated for the most part like a sport, not like a circus. This Wrestle Kingdom earlier this year was far superior to anything WWE has done as a show in its entirety.
As you know, I had so many of the young Japanese guys over here that were just breaking in back in those days, and they were hugely influenced by a lot of the guys we sent over, like Dynamite and Davey and some of those guys, and they were always very, very receptive to advice and criticism. All those guys like Hossie and Liger and Hashimoto, and before that we had guys like Fujinami and some of them up here. And that was one of the things that they were all very, very eager to learn, and they were very respectful and thankful for advice. These days, if you give advice or constructive criticism to some of the superstars, and I use the term loosely, they're resentful, and they're going like, what the hell does that idiot know? Or, they don't want to hear anything but, awesome or whatever from you. So, but I digress. But, I think I'm hopeful that Japan is. I've been sort of mixed emotions with Japan, because they deviated quite a bit in the last decade or so, trying to copy WWE or whatever, or the ECW or Onita or whatever, and the heart and soul of Japanese wrestling back in the day was always just the wrestling. Most of those guys, had a pretty solid, pseudo-legit background, and there wasn't that much gimmicks and extremism and stuff, and that was what kind of made it what it was. But hopefully they're returning back to their roots.
Hope so. But New Japan World is well worth the $8 and $9 a month. They have all the live shows, and Nakamura and Okada. Some of these guys are just, world class.
Yeah, I know my nephew Harry's been doing a bit of stuff over there. I hopefully he's doing all right. I thought he was misused and sort of underappreciated or pretty much wasted with WWE, you know. So I hope he's fulfilling, you know, he's got a fair bit of potential, and he's a pretty good looking big kid, so I hope he does well over there.
There you go. I'll give it back to John and Alfonso for the wrap-up.
Okay, nice talking to you, Evan. And
thank you so much, Bruce. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to having you on Heartbeat Radio.
Anytime.
Bob Johnson tells me I gather you might even be on with our upcoming guest, the enigmatic brother of Macho Man Randy Savage, Leaping Lanny. So
I love Lanny. Lanny's a good friend. Tell everybody how they can listen to Heartbeat Radio.
Yeah, it's on Pro Wrestling Powerhouse. I believe that's the you know. So I think we're usually on every Saturday evenings, and I think you can check into the archives. But we've actually had a number of, you know, some pretty interesting shows with people like Terry Funk and Harley and Jody Hamilton, and we had a real good dialogue just a few days ago with the Masked Destroyer, Dick Beyer, and so I invite you guys all to check us out, and I'm certainly going to endeavor to have Evan and John and Alfonso and some of you guys on the show, and got some pretty interesting guests lined up in the next little while, including Harley and Larry Hennig and Lanny and a bunch of others. So Bob Johnson does a great job lining these guests up for me. So I'm looking forward to having you on there, Evan, and always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Definitely, and we'll put it up on social media. That way they can listen to your show, Bruce, and we would love to have you back on and talk some more wrestling. And
yeah, we've already
I appreciate it. Means so much to us.
Yeah, I apologize for going on as I do sometimes, but you know, it sounds funny. I think we've only scratched the surface. You know, there's so many things we can cover, I guess, in other shows, whether it's stuff like the Montreal thing or, you know, the Kansas City thing or some of the you know, the other wrestlers that came out of Stampede, or just, you know, perspectives on the business and past or present or whatever. So yeah, I'd be happy to hook up with you guys again anytime.
Definitely, man. We always got to leave them wanting more, for sure.
He just left me wanting more.
Okay, and give my best to Donald Trump and
oh yeah.
I wanted to mention it like an hour ago. I love it.
yeah. I'm, you know.
So really quick here before
we need him or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Really quick here before we let you go, Bruce. If you had a chance to vote for president, and your choices, no, and your choices were the two seemingly most idiotic picks. Donald Trump, or as what's been in the news the last few days, or at least on Facebook, because when I'm working or working on the show, that's my only means of news for a little while. Yeah, shoot me there. Donald Trump or Kanye West?
I think I'd probably be going with Caitlyn Jenner, or maybe.
Oh, that was an awesome response.
Maybe, you know, Hornswoggle or maybe Jesse the Body might. He's actually maybe overqualified.
No, Jesse might be qualified.
Yeah, but
oh man.
But all right, Bruce. It was an awesome time talking to you, man. We look forward to, like Al said, look forward to hearing from you again really soon, man.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks very much, guys, and appreciate you guys keeping the flame burning.
Absolutely, man. Take it easy.
Okay, we'll do it again, and you guys take care. God bless.
Same to you, man. Take care.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right, guys. That was wrestling legend and Hart family member Bruce Hart awesome interview. Got some very newsworthy stuff in there, including a major update on Tyson Kidd. That kind of caught me off guard a little bit. But
I told you it was newsworthy. I didn't want to put him on the spot, but I let him say what he wanted.
But right now, guys,
it's
this Main Event Madness radio, we're going later than we normally do. I didn't mean to talk over you, Al, but I think I'm going to throw it to something that we all desperately need.
Wait, before you do, Evan, are you able to stay a little longer, or are you ready to head out?
Oh, I'm fine. That was like listening to a radio show. Just let us talk, and I kick back and listen, and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, when I spoke to Bruce for the first time, I knew he loved to talk, and I just wanted to hear the knowledge, and I loved that he was on there. And this is why I love it. I mean, a guy like Bruce Hart coming on, and I mean, even yourself, Evan, but I've never heard his story, so it was really nice to hear his perspective.
Bruce's entire life has been in pro wrestling. I mean,
it's amazing.
So, he's in his 60s at this point. So you're talking over a half century where he's been directly involved in the business. And prior to that, his family, of course, was in the business. And if anybody knows this business, it's a Vince McMahon or a Bruce Hart. And ironically, they have a totally different approach to it. So what I resent is somebody will say, for example, Bruce Hart or Evan Ginsberg or whomever are living in the past, blah, 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 and that's absolutely not true. I love Ring of Honor. I love New Japan Pro Wrestling. I enjoyed Evolve. I saw Evolve live back in June. Etc. So on. I support indie wrestling. I mean, some of it's great, some of it's awful. But if you cherry pick, I saw a promotion called Marvelous with Chigusa Nagoya come into New York with some great Japanese wrestlers. And if you pick and choose, there's a lot of great wrestling out there. Even on TV tonight, you have Ring of Honor and. TNA's a mess, but
that is, you know what,
they
Evan?
have some good wrestling mixed in there.
You know what, Evan? That may just be the most generous thing you have ever said. TNA is a mess. That's awfully generous.
Well, they have some excellent world class wrestlers in there. You can't take it away from a Kurt Angle or a lot of the X Division guys. They have some tremendous talent. It's just how they choose to misuse them. I think TNA should have had the courage of their convictions and really pushed the X Division and all of that. And
so
instead,
basically,
they went more. What's that?
So basically, they shouldn't have let Dixie Carter run the company.
Well, they
basically,
went more,
Jeff Jarrett should still be running.
They try to be a poor man's WWE with the bad comedy, they should have had a product that totally stood on its own. In fact, like every guy, I shouldn't say every, but so many of the WWE guys would be released, and ultimately TNA would pick it up. And it felt like a second-rate WWE, and it's a shame because the talent base is excellent. I mean, the American Wolves, how great are these guys? You have the Hardys, etc., so on. You have some great talent in there, but it's just horribly misused. But getting back to my original point, it's not that we're living in the past, it's that we love wrestling so much that you want it presented as a sport, you want it presented where the titles mean something, you want to care. And when a talk show host runs in at the end of the match and it turns it into a joke, how do you care?
Especially when you get the same match again 4 weeks later.
Yeah, you were 1 minute away from saying, what a great, memorable match, instead of, wow, what a stupid ending. They killed that, Cesaro and Owens, which was not as good a match as Cena and Rollins or Undertaker and Lesnar, was elevated by a clean finish.
Yep.
It felt like a contest. It felt like a competition. It felt like a sport. And that's what Bruce and I are saying. It's like we love wrestling, but we love wrestling treated as an art, and it is an art. And to cheapen it, No, if you watch 3 hours of Raw, honestly, how much quality wrestling is in that 3 hours?
45 minutes.
30 minutes? How much?
45 minutes, and that's if Cesaro and Owens are having a match.
Okay, I agree. Every time Cesaro comes out, I stop what I'm doing and I watch the match because it's presented as a sport. And
speaking of stopping what you're doing,
oh God,
that's exactly what we're going to do.
What a segue! Jesus Christ.
I was fighting for that one. But I'm going to do what I think everybody needs right now because I need to take the world's largest wicked yes.
Oh, Jesus.
And when we get back, I'm going to pick Evan's brain a little bit about TNA.
About TNA, okay.
They still exist?
Barely, and you'll see why in a little bit. Also, I want to get Evan's opinion and Al's opinion. WWE could be signing a world heavyweight champion, and I'll give you a hint. It's not New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it's not in TNA.
What?
So we're going to get Al and Evan's opinion on that. And also, after the show goes off the air, I'm throwing Al on the spot here. We will have contest details. We talked about it last week on the show. You guys want contest details? How you guys could win some prizes? You guys want to help out Main Event Madness? Well, you guys are going to have to stick around after the commercial break, and you guys are going to have to find out that way. As Al's looking at me like, you sumbitch. But, alright guys, so, this is Main Event Madness Radio. For 56 minutes left, it is the September 2nd edition of the broadcast. I am in a... Goddamn, he moved quick, Evan. Like, we have a video Skype thing going on. The first thing I see a picture of him, next thing you know, I look down to refresh the page I'm on, and oh, shit, he's gone. But anyway, guys, Main Event Madness, September 2nd, Main Event Madness season premiere. Evan Ginsberg of Legends TV is with us. He's holding down the fort as Al just took off, probably to go on a bathroom break, like probably Evan's waiting for me to shut up to get us to. We have a lot.
I was just going to say hello to my wife, who just staggered home, but we could do that during the break.
But all right, guys, we got, like I said, commercial break. We have a lot more to talk about coming up here. Main Event Madness Radio. We are live. Want wrestling news? Want sports news? Want columns, podcasts, shopping, and a place to chat with fans around the world? Then you want MainEventMadness.com. This site has everything from the latest news about all your favorite wrestling companies, including WWE, TNA, ROH, and Global Force Wrestling, as well as news about all the major sports leagues, MLB, NFL, and NBA. Give us a try, and you won't regret it. It's MainEventMadness.com, where the madness runs wild. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Looking for quality wrestling news with an international flair? Looking for results and news from around the world? Look no further than Wrestling-News.net. Wayne Daly and his crew have you covered from top to bottom, from WWE to TNA to the top independent companies from around the world. Check them out, Wrestling-News.net. So you decided to check out Main Event Madness, and now you want to know how you can get the latest news about the show, the hosts, guests, showtimes, and more? Well, the answer's simple. Facebook. Head over to facebook.com/maineventmadness and be a part of the hundreds who have already liked the page and are the first to know everything you could ask about Main Event Madness. Facebook.com/maineventmadness, the official Facebook page for Main Event Madness Radio. Want to write a column, report news, a blog, or simply help out with the website? No problem. We're looking for reporters for sports, wrestling, and columnists. If interested, send an email and a resume to job@maineventmadness.com and join our team today. Main Event Madness is an equal opportunity employer. Please only send serious inquiries. The spam will not be read. From the associate producer of The Wrestler, and in the tradition of Joe Franklin and Ed Sullivan variety talk shows, Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV features an eclectic mix of legendary million-selling musicians, indie artists deserving greater exposure, and colorful pro wrestlers. Co-hosted by Steve Ludwig of Classic Pop Culture Radio, the show airs live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern at MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. Martha Wash, Crown Heights Affair, Lanny Poffo, Nicole Bass, and other legends have joined us. You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. Life is about working. Life is about progress. So why not put them together? Well, we did. Join Matt Brees and Mike Brooker every week for Working Progress, the Fans View podcast. Each week, the guys talk the latest in wrestling and sports and dabble in some fantasy ideas that'll blow your mind. It's The Work in Progress every week only on MainEventMadness.com. All right, guys, we are back. Main Event Madness season premiere. It is September 2nd, 2015, guys. If you missed the first 2 hours of this, should have been the last 3 hours of a show, but we had some horrifying technical issues, and we say it every week, and it's somewhat a joke and somewhat serious, If we didn't have some technical difficulties, it wouldn't be Main Event Madness. But we had he was formerly of Stampede Wrestling. He's one of the hosts of Heartbeat Radio. Bruce Hart was with us for a very, very awesome interview, very newsworthy interview. If you guys missed that, you guys are going to have to head over to VOC Nation's blogtalkradio.com/VOC Nation and check out our encore presentation, which will air Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So if you guys missed any of tonight's show, there's another way you guys go check that out. They got some great shows over there. A lot of different aspects, a lot of different views on pro wrestling and other stuff over there. So you guys definitely want to go check them out. That's blogtalkradio.com/VOC Nation. And that's also Friday night, like I said, at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Or you guys can go iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Spreaker, or our new platform, Player FM. So just another way for you guys to go check that out, or head over to iTunes. And I believe it's like a day later or something like that, but you guys can download the show on iTunes also. So anyway, you guys want to go check that out, definitely check it out. Or if you guys love the aspect of live radio, pretend it's live. And like I said, listen on VOC Nation. But, yeah, awesome interview. And, guys, definitely go check out Heartbeat Radio on ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com. That's where a couple old friends are over there. Joel O'Brien and Aaron Ramadanov of Wrestling's Rope Break. Great show over there. It's a monthly podcast. They used to be our sister show. They do a great job over there. But also, guys, we're a little behind the ball. Little behind the ball on uploading them, and the guys are going to be killing me for not uploading this. But I'm telling you guys, on Saturday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, I will have a brand new episode of Working Progress on MainEventMadness.com at Spreaker.com/show/MainEventMadness. So if you guys love, and this time of year, everything big is with fantasy. So if you guys love a fantasy aspect of pro wrestling, you guys definitely want to check out Work in Progress. That's with Matt Brees and Mike Rooker. Like I said, all new episode will air Saturday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. And all right, so I mentioned it before we went onto commercial break that we had a contest. So if you guys listened last week, or even if you didn't, we switched our format, I guess you could say, to where we're not wrestling in sports. We're back to just wrestling, and we have a catchphrase. It's Main Event Madness, your wrestling podcast, your wrestling website, and we're kind of on the fence with that slogan. So here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're going to do, guys. Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. Head over there. And first off, give us a like. Because, if you're listening to this show, you like us. Or you hate us. But either way, you're going to want to support us. So like us on Facebook. And follow me on Twitter. @John MEM Radio. And @Al.
Me, Madness.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been sitting here trolling, looking at me like, Evan's phone died. Evan's phone died. He'll be back in a bit. But yeah, so head over to facebook.com/main event madness. And yes, Al, I was sitting here holding down the fort for good, I don't know.
It's about fucking time, motherfucker.
Listen, I've done solo shows before and they fucking sucked. So that's why I don't do it.
That means we lost fucking everybody.
Probably. But here's the thing. I'll get them all back because we're talking about a contest and we're talking about prizes.
Oh, if we tweet them and Facebook them. Which is fucked up. We never came up with a final... Yeah. That's on me.
And whose fault is that?
Fucking John Kerry. Everything that goes wrong with everything is John Kerry's fault. Everything that goes great, like the Bruce Hart interview, is my fault.
Now, what you guys don't understand is for every time he blames something on me...
I get fucking cursed to hell.
No, besides the fact that he drinks his weight in Yingling...
No, Yingling is the best beer... I only have one.
Again.
I've had the 6 packs of Yingling for about... It might be even expired, because I only have one, like, every 3 weeks.
You stupid bastard. But anyway, anytime that Al blames something on me on the show, what he doesn't realize is he owes our former or producer, whatever you want to call him, I don't know if we're still considering him our producer or not, that's what we call him. He owes our producer, Wayne Daly of Wrestling-News.net, a motherfucking Cuban sandwich. So for every time he blames me for something on the air, Al's got to pay like $65.95 for shipping and handling to go from Hialeah, probably more than that. That's probably before customs, to ship a Cuban sandwich from Hialeah, Florida, Miami, Florida, the sunny South Beach, baby, up to the cloudy, drizzly, abysmal Ireland, where it rains and is absolutely dreadful for most of the year. But anyway, what were you going to say, Al, before I finish up?
So what's the call-in thing?
Yeah, if you guys want to call into the show number is 305-600-4708. That's 305-600-4708. Call in, question us, agree with us, hate us, argue with us, question us. We don't care. We want to hear from you guys. But, all right, so back to the contest. So, head over to facebook.com/maineventmadness and give us a like. And we will have the post up immediately following the show. And sexy burp, by the way.
I had to do it.
Yeah. The Yingling's talking right now.
Yingling-a-dingaling.
I hate you so much right now. But, so, here's the deal.
And you know what? You want to hear the best thing?
God damn it, can I get this thing at what?
Lick a lot of puss.
He's drunk, folks. Cranberry vodka started the show. Anyway, so here's the deal. We're going to have the post up immediately following the broadcast, and you guys comment on it. What do you guys think our slogan should be? We've had Main Event Madness, Our Wrestling, Your Sports, Main Event Madness, Your Wrestling, Our Podcast, whatever the fuck it was for a week.
I think I'm going to put a vote right now.
And now it's Main Event Madness.
Go fuck yourself.
No. Okay. Sober up here a little bit, buddy. Get a cup of coffee.
I know. I'm just playing around. Sorry.
I know.
I was just letting the people know that it's unlimited. No curse words, but unlimited.
Yes, no curse words, no vulgarities, no homophobic language, no racist language, if I could talk. Keep it, PG. Keep it PG. I think that's safe to say. But anyway.
Sorry, Visu man.
Comment, yes. Damn it! Interrupt me again, and you're fired.
I used to like the 69, now I'm all about the PG. No? Okay. John?
I'm going to regret this. I'm going to regret this.
As usual. He's his sister in mute.
Damn!
I forget that I'm doing a radio show, so I'm going to mute everything.
No, you just got damned.
Yeah, I learned from the best.
Anyway, comment what you guys think should be the slogan for the show and for the website, and I'll just cut the video. Good job, buddy. And we're going to do a poll after a few weeks of the best ones, with including the current one that we have now, Your Wrestling Podcast, Your Wrestling Website. Now, we're going to take note of who gives us what slogan. We're going to pick the best ones that we think, and we're going to throw them in a poll. You guys will have... we'll figure it out at the time. You know, we really should have thought about this first. You know, if somebody would have talked over the last week, I'm not naming names. Chuchi.
You the point beside that.
But basically, we're going to throw the best ones into a poll, and whoever the winning slogan goes to will receive a prize. Minimum $25 value, courtesy of Chuchi. Alfonso, the Cuban sensation, Matamon.
There you go. You're doing pretty good. I welcome you to Florida.
I'll be in the better part. I'll be in Fort Myers, bitch.
Miami's the better part, but okay.
If you don't mind getting shot.
All right, I officially got 17 minutes of life here.
All right, guys. So basically, like I said, here's the deal. Facebook.com/MainEventMadness. Comment what you guys think should be the slogan for the podcast, for the show. You guys hear it in the intro every week, and you guys hear it in the outro. Whatever you guys think it should be, keep it PG. We're going to take down whoever gives us what poll or what slogans, and we're going to throw them in a poll. Whoever submits the winning podcast. Wow, I can't talk. The winning slogan will receive a prize. Minimum $25 of value, and we'll have your choice of a signed picture, legitimately signed, authentic signature of a legendary wrestler. So, get over to Facebook.com over the next couple of weeks and get your voice heard. It's Main Event Madness, the power of the people. The People Power slogan contest brought to you by Main Event Madness. What? I just did a live commercial, bitch. What? Anyway. Apparently I'm doing the show solo right now. Anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen.
No, I got this. What?
No. If you think TNA wrestling is dying...
No. Save that topic for when Evan comes back.
Motherfucker, it's an email I just got. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to save all the TNA talking / bashing / mutilating.
Alright, here's my tease. You can save TNA wrestling for only $99.99. $9.99. Yep.
$99.99.
Yep, it takes $99.99 to save TNA wrestling, and that's all for you teenage boys. I'll tell you next.
What's worse is I don't know what the hell he's even talking about, guys.
I got.
Afraid.
If I show you a video, you'll see. I'll do a print. I don't even know what to tell you. I am embarrassed.
This is bad. But anyway, guys, let's just talk about a couple things here. We didn't get a rundown this week. That's okay. Tough Enough last week. We didn't get to talk about it. Sarah and Josh won the outrageously priced $250,000 WWE contracts because, you know, something like $50,000 was that outrageous that they couldn't do it. And we'll be in NXT. And then Amanda proceeded to make herself look even trashier than she already does by keep trying to bash Sarah. And it was just bordering on pathetic, really. And bear with us, Alice is on speakerphone. Are you with me, sir?
Yeah, sorry, I was just switching to battery.
Anyway, Amanda just seemed really classless, keep trying to attack Sarah, even though she already lost the competition. A lot of people were upset that Sarah won, even though clearly Sarah had a better connection with the fans. Meanwhile, I don't think anybody is even the least bit surprised that Josh won the male contract for Tough Enough. I mean, ZZ. All right, Al, and stay with me on this. Don't go off the deep end answering this question.
No, I'm here with you, brother.
What the hell did you guys see in him? It's like anything that he was.
He's Dusty Rhodes. He's the resurrection
He's
of Dusty
not,
Rhodes.
though.
A lot of people.
Dusty Rhodes may have been a bigger guy with a sense of humor.
Dusty Rhodes. That's what everybody's calling him.
No, you can't say everybody because I didn't see that.
John, here's the thing. He's out of shape, technically, but he has a lot of charisma. If you will put ZZ's charisma and what's the guy's name that won Josh's body? John, what the fuck is his name?
Josh.
All right. You put his charisma and that body, you got a superstar. But so straight up, I mean, ZZ has the ability to have the ball to do things differently.
No, no. There's a difference between doing something differently and making a joke out of everything, and that's what it seemed like the guy was doing. Like,
because he was young, he's 19, 20 years old.
Then what the hell are you doing on a show like Tough Enough? Like Bruce said, they went out of their way to try to make it look like it was legitimate and it was serious, and then you got a guy like freaking ZZ he looked like he was making a mockery out of it. And I was watching after my DVR recording of Raw ended, he was talking about his theme song, and he's sitting there, he's like, oh, maybe some baby gator calls. And then started smirking, laughing, and made like little sound effects. Like, dude, this is like your last attempt to win over the people that are supposedly going to save you, and you look like a complete idiot.
Here's the thing. There was a lot.
You guys.
There's a lot of. Let me just say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. This Tough Enough was meant to be like as realistic as possible. Meaning, it was sold as it was all about the reality that the fans were voting. But then when Patrick got voted off, and then a lot of these things came out about the WWE wanting the judge. The WWE ultimately had control because they told the three guys, whether when it was with Hulk Hogan on there, Paige and Daniel Bryan, then it turned to Miz, Daniel Bryan, and Paige. They said, I want you guys to pick these people to get, possibly eliminated. People don't realize the amount of control the WWE had on this show. It's funny that ZZ was one of the top guys, and Patrick was as well. I don't know why Patrick got eliminated. I still think that was bullshit. But
I think they should have flip-flopped it. I think Patrick should have been in the final two with Josh over ZZ.
No, Patrick almost should have won because he was the guy that loved wrestling, and he knows. I'm sorry, but Patrick cut the best promos on that show. But I'm just saying that.
I wouldn't say the best promos because he was coming off a little too egotistical, like, I know the business.
Because you know what? You know why? Because he's the only fucking guy that loved wrestling and knew what the fuck wrestling was, and he could cut a fucking promo.
But the whole wrestling, the whole internet wrestling side of him came out far too much. Like, even Hogan called him out on being a smark.
But who gives a shit? What, you want a smark or a fucking ZZ or fucking somebody else?
I'd pick a smark. I'd pick a Patrick over ZZ easily. I mean, that's not even a question. But I'm just saying, that was my only gripe with him. Like, he just came off like, I know what I'm doing. And, he just had a real asshole persona to him. That was my only gripe with him. And
what's
Jericho...
funny that a lot of people say that, but I saw it as he's the only guy that gives a fucking damn about the wrestling business.
Well, I mean, you can't say that. I mean, at least looking at the end of it, because Josh seemed like he cared. I mean, that excitement that he had, I mean, you could try to act all you want.
What do you mean? He had one of the worst fucking matches and intro. I don't know, man.
The entrance, listen, of the two of them, they both sucked. Their entrances, the only one who legitimately looked like a wrestler was Amanda. I liked Sarah because Sarah...
I can't even argue that.
Sarah looked different. Sarah looked kind of like... I hate to say it like this, but it's the only way I could really think to word it. Like a redneck AJ Lee. And that's a compliment. That is a compliment.
I'm going to tell you this. The show lost a lot of its legitimacy, whatever the hell word is right now, when Patrick got eliminated because
the women.
He was the only. I'm sorry?
No, I was just going to say the women were vastly better than the men.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. But when Patrick got eliminated,
that's when you kind of realized.
But it lost a lot of its integrity because that's the only guy that showed passion.
It lost a lot of legitimacy when Patrick got voted.
Yeah, it did because he's the only fucking guy that really showed that passion about wrestling.
Well,
he was a smart. I don't give a shit. He was the only guy that actually loved wrestling, could cut a promo, and could potentially wrestle it.
Yep.
Wrestle that. So when he got eliminated, that's when the ratings. Ratings really went to shit. Who gives a shit about what happened with Hogan? Hogan, Page, and Bryan could have all been replaced. But when Patrick got eliminated, that's when everything changed.
I'd agree with that. I mean, a lot of people were watching it because they thought it was legit, like the first ones when Maven and Jackie and all them when they won it.
Legit after a while.
Well, they thought it was, and then once they were like, well, Patrick's like the shoo-in for this. Like, who are they gonna have? ZZ? Like, that's how a lot of people. That's how I looked at it. Like, actually, you know who I really thought would make it was Tanner.
Yeah, for a while.
I thought Tanner had a good look to him. I thought Tanner's promos were decent.
I agree.
You know who really who is really under the radar? We haven't, huh?
Who's that?
Mata. I tell you what they had.
I wanted him to make it as well. Now he has a different look, different attitude. I thought he could make it.
And when they had that 1 week where they had to do their character building, and Mata came out with the whole Pharaoh thing, the whole Pharaoh gimmick, and the king, and it's like the king of the ring, and everybody associates that with a crown and a robe and a scepter and all that shit. And then out comes Mata looking like this big, overpowering beast and a Pharaoh.
And you know that Mata has a look.
That we've never seen before.
And when I say look, just his face alone and
that blonde mohawk.
It leaves an impression, almost like Rusev.
That blonde mohawk.
Look, in a sense. I'm sorry?
That blonde mohawk.
Yeah, something about him.
But he had the look with that attire. If WWE could have ramped that up times 10, and he was a legitimate, if they could have got his promos down, they could have put him with fucking Paul Heyman.
No, there's a lot of potential.
Oh my God! Or even find somebody like a. Ooh, you know what really would have worked with that?
What?
I'm sorry to talk you over. I just thought it was a great idea. If they had Mata come out, with the whole Pharaoh thing, bring back Daivari.
Yeah, it would have worked out great for sure.
Like I was thinking Paul Heyman, then I'm like, no, you can't put everybody with Heyman. Then I was like, oh fuck, what about Daivari? Daivari was very underrated, getting heat as a manager.
I agree as well. I mean, Daivari did a lot of stuff, and I felt like he did his job, and he's still. I don't know. He reminds me of a guy like Estrada. They got rid of him because of. Yeah, I can't even compare because Estrada was.
Armando Alejandro Estrada. God,
but
he was great, man.
What's that about Tough Enough is the fact that there's news coming out because WWE fucked it up so much to production that it won't be on next year, which sucks, but it is what it is.
Oh.
They had a gold mine and they fucked it up.
Oh, they'll get some other. Man, it'd be some shit as they get Destination America to pick it up.
No, that'd be funny. John, I hate to do this to you, but is there any way we could do a commercial break?
Yeah. All right, guys. All right. So we're gonna take a little commercial break here, guys. I know we just took one, but it's live radio. Shit happens. But when we get back, guys, we got some TNA talk, including what Al teased. You could save Impact Wrestling for $99.99. I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but apparently you can. And we got some talk about TNA and their future with Evan Ginsberg. He'll be back after this commercial break. And, like I said, WWE is interested in a former world champion, and it's not from Global Force Wrestling, and it's not a former WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So that's ruling out a lot there, guys. Now you gotta be getting curious if if you've been sitting glued to your computers listening to Main Event Madness. So we got a lot to talk about. We're going overtime. We're going to midnight. You guys aren't going to want to miss this. Main Event Madness Radio, September 2nd edition of the broadcast season premiere. And we'll be back after this commercial break, guys. Want wrestling news? Want sports news? Want columns, podcasts, shopping, and a place to chat with fans around the world? Then you want MainEventMadness.com. This site has everything from the latest news about all your favorite wrestling companies, including WWE, TNA, ROH, and Global Force Wrestling, as well as news about all the major sports leagues, MLB, NFL, and NBA. Give us a try, and you won't regret it. It's MainEventMadness.com, where the madness runs wild. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Looking for quality wrestling news with an international flair? Looking for results and news from around the world? Look no further than Wrestling-News.net. Wayne Daly and his crew have you covered from top to bottom, from WWE to TNA to the top independent companies from around the world. Check them out, Wrestling-News.net. So you decided to check out Main Event Madness, and now you want to know how you can get the latest news about the show, the hosts, guests, showtimes, and more? Well, the answer's simple. Facebook. Head over to facebook.com/maineventmadness and be a part of the hundreds who have already liked the page and are the first to know everything you could ask about Main Event Madness. Facebook.com/maineventmadness, the official Facebook page for Main Event Madness Radio. Want to write a column, report news, a blog, or simply help out with the website? No problem. We're looking for reporters for sports, wrestling, and columnists. If interested, send an email and a resume to job@maineventmadness.com and join our team today. Main Event Madness is an equal opportunity employer. Please only send serious inquiries. The spam will not be read. From the associate producer of The Wrestler, and in the tradition of Joe Franklin and Ed Sullivan variety talk shows, Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV features an eclectic mix of legendary million-selling musicians, indie artists deserving greater exposure, and colorful pro wrestlers. Co-hosted by Steve Ludwig of Classic Pop Culture Radio, the show airs live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern at MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. Martha Wash, Crown Heights Affair, Lanny Poffo, Nicole Bass, and other legends have joined us. You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. Life is about working. Life is about progress. So why not put them together? Well, we did. Join Matt Brees and Mike Brooker every week for Working Progress, the Fans View podcast. Each week, the guys talk the latest in wrestling and sports and dabble in some fantasy ideas that'll blow your mind. It's the Working Progress every week only on MainEventMadness.com. All right, guys, we are back. This is Main Event Madness Radio, September 2nd edition of the broadcast, our season premiere, headlined by the legendary Bruce Hart. We had an awesome interview. You guys missed that by about, 45 minutes ago he was on here. Maybe a little bit less than that. But like I said after the last commercial break, if you guys missed that, head over to blogtalkradio.com/VOCNation, and on Friday night at 6 o'clock Eastern, you guys will be able to check out an encore presentation of that. Or Player FM, just search Main Event Madness, and you guys will be able to check it out that way. And he has come back. His phone is back from the land of the dead. Evan Ginsberg. He's pulling some late duty with us. Back. We're going late night Main Event Madness. I truly, truly hope that the rest of the show stays on here, because we've only had it go once where we've gone past the 3 hours, and apparently it keeps going. So here's hoping that we keep the show. But
I was just watching Ring of Honor, and I honestly think I could take this kid Hamburger. I think I'm 55 years old. I got more muscle than this kid.
We got to get a hold of the Sinclairs. We got to make this happen.
That's right. I challenge Hamburger at 140 pounds. I'm going to take him on. Anyway.
Speaking of Ring of Honor, Evan, I've been teasing it for like the last half hour or so. WWE's interested reportedly in signing a current World Heavyweight Champion. That would be Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion Jay Lethal.
How convenient.
Right. Right when they rip off the storyline. Hey, we want your champion.
Yeah, like with Tyler Black, just when he became champion in Ring of Honor, they suddenly decide, WWE wants them. These guys are out there for 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden they're hot. Come on.
Al interviewed...
It's ruthless, and I do understand the other side, that any of these guys, when they jump to WWE, the vast majority will make more money unless they're buried forever at NXT.
Or they're AJ Styles, and they're making much more money in Japan.
Yeah. So, I fully understand why you would go from a smaller promotion to the number one promotion in the world. But at the same time, Ring of Honor has polished Jay Lethal, and if...
After being quite irrelevant when he left TNA, too, because, if you tell me that many people truly cared about Jay Lethal once he left TNA, I'd say you're lying.
Yeah, he's come into his own. I just saw him wrestle live this Saturday night before SummerSlam with Ring of Honor, and, he's easy. He's not a kid anymore, and it's taken him a while, but he's at the peak of his powers and credibility, and even when he walks in the ring now, he looks like a champion. The gear has been upgraded, and he carries himself like a champion, and yeah, sure, why not? WWE, especially when you hear time and time again that WWE has not properly used African-American wrestlers, that they always have some... cartoonish persona. If they treated Jay Lethal like an athlete instead of a cartoon, I think they could do a lot with him. But you hate to see them cherry pick the smaller promotion.
Mm-hmm. And to your point that you just mentioned about how they treat African Americans, which one will become the first fully black world heavyweight champion? Big E or Apollo Crews?
I don't think either.
And I know a lot of people, while you're thinking, would say, oh, but The Rock was champion. The Rock said on numerous occasions he's half black and he's half Samoan. And I'm not trying to be any sort of racist, and please nobody take it like that, because that's not the case. But WWE has never had a fully African-American world heavyweight champion.
Well, they had tag team champions.
Tag team champions.
World champion.
And
right.
Mark Henry was the world heavyweight champion, but the WWE championship has never been around the waist of a fully African American world heavyweight champion.
Well, John, can I intervene here?
What?
Yeah, they've never had a gay champion. They never had a Cuban champion. They never had. The list goes on and on. I'll be honest. That's a really. I hate bringing that question up because, where do you go from there? I don't know. A black champion or whatever the case is. We're trying to pull the race card. The question should be is Vince McMahon and the writers racist, or whatever the case is. Not should there be is there ever going to be a black champion? You know what I mean? Or a Cuban champion or a gay champion? Are they racist or have they been racist? That should be the question.
And and to a lot of extents you could say yes, and to a lot of extents you could say no. Because there have been a decent amount of African Americans, that have had a semblance of success in WWE. Whether it's Mark Henry, whether if you want to use, if you want to consider The Rock, Mark Henry, R-Truth, he's never won a championship, has he? I think he was tag champion. But I mean,
I think R-Truth was terribly wasted. I think
absolutely.
he has charisma. He had a great gimmick. The rap routine added to it as well. And I don't understand why he was never pushed harder, because he's a total package, and he was never really pushed as much as he should have been.
No, the only time they ever pushed him was that bullshit.
Little Jimmy.
Yeah. And it's like, and at that point, it wasn't because of Truth. It wasn't because Truth got over. It was because they had nobody to feud with him. Back then, they still had the whole brand split and all that, and they had nobody to feud with Cena. Nobody wanted to see Cena and Orton. They didn't want to do Cena and Mysterio. They didn't want to do, or they just got done doing Cena and Miz, and they didn't want to do Punk yet. Actually, truthfully, I don't think they ever wanted to do Punk, but that's a discussion for another day.
I guess I don't know. I guess my thing is that I hate pulling the race card, because they've had champions that were black, and Darren Young is gay. I just don't. I never liked that argument where, oh my God, there's never been a black champion. I don't know if I'm just trying to, go beyond it, or if I don't want to believe the facts or whatever the case is. But I just think it's not relevant. I mean, am I wrong for thinking that?
Well, I think in Ring of Honor, when they just treat everybody as athletes, as opposed to, this one's black, this one's Hispanic, this one's white, it doesn't matter.
Or even TNA too. To your point, I mean, they've had a few black champions. I think MVP was champion. Bobby Lashley was. They've had a couple others.
Yeah, Bobby Lashley was treated just as a great athlete, a fighter, a martial artist, a wrestler. His color really did not come into it whatsoever, and I don't understand why WWE can't do the same in 2015. I mean, you're actually perpetuating stereotypes when the black wrestlers inevitably, come in the ring dancing, have hard heads, or whatever the insane stereotype is, that they don't seem to put to rest.
And it's unfortunate, and I think, sadly, I think a lot of it's due to Vince. That Vince is, used to how he's ran things and doesn't want to get up to the times with it.
So go ahead, Evan. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say it's not much different when Tito Santana's there for 20 years, and all of a sudden, hey, we're going to make you a matador. I mean, Tony Atlas suddenly becomes Saba Simba, and he's wearing a lion over his head or whatever. It's like. Why not just treat these guys as the great athletes and physical specimens that they are, instead of police are going to... You hear the sirens outside my place here?
I thought it was owls.
He always thinks
police are going to arrest WWE writers for perpetuating stereotypes. They're on their way right now. I'm joking.
You want to talk a joke? I wish this was a joke. So... a lot of people, actually, no, let me reword this even better. Who do you guys think would be the next one to be, try to be involved with anybody in the family of Nikki and Brie Bella?
What do you mean by involved? In a storyline?
No, romantically.
Romantically?
I think it's going to be me.
I think it would be Al.
There you go.
Would you like to know who is?
That's the divorce settlement right there, the Bella twins.
There you go.
Would you like to know who is?
Who?
John Laurinaitis, the former executive vice president of talent relations, is engaged to be married. John Laurinaitis, the former executive vice president of talent relations, is engaged to be married to the mother of the Bella twins.
Okay, well. Bella twins are what, in their late 20s? So Mom must be someone hot in her 40s, I would guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I saw this, and I just saw John Laurinaitis, and then I saw there's a picture of Nikki Bella and John Cena with John Laurinaitis and the Bella's mother, and I'm just looking at that. I'm like, that has to be one of the most awkward conversations. I don't know.
In other words, John, you're telling me that next season in Total Divas,
we get people power.
We'll have Johnny Laurinaitis, and then we'll have Vicky dating Natty's sister. It's a joke. No.
I'm watching Hanson on ROH. I think wrestling needs more Vikings. I think Vikings are really, in a minority in wrestling.
But
no comment.
I didn't know what to say.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, Al or Evan. Sorry, it's almost midnight here, guys. Cut us some slack. TNA. Evan, did you know TNA could be saved for only $99.99?
Meaning what?
I have no freaking clue. Al's about to tell us.
A little bit ago, I got an email from TNA Wrestling saying that 2016 is going to be the hottest year ever. And I go in there, I was excited. I thought it was like a TV deal announcement or a new, they're going to have a tour. They're going to be wrestling more dates. There's, whatever the case was. So I clicked on this link on my Yahoo account. And, of course, it's $99.99. That way you get your TNA Knockout 2016 calendar. It just blew my mind. I thought it would be a rib off of the $9.99. So $99.99. I don't know why it's so expensive. You can get a TNA Knockout calendar for 2016. It will be the hottest year ever for TNA wrestling.
They're charging $100 for a calendar.
Well, that's got to be signed by a dozen of them. Yeah, it's got to be signed by all 12. Otherwise, how are they going to charge $100 for a calendar?
There should be a phone call or a meet and greet for $9.99. I mean, at that point,
Yeah.
On a more funnier note, well, not funnier note, but sadder note, TNA, Evan, and Panda Energy could be nearing a split. Evidently, all the payroll and all the corporate offices for Impact Wrestling was moved to Texas, where Panda Energy is headquartered, to consolidate it, make it easier, blah, blah, blah. And this was not even 6 months ago, and already they've moved everything back to Nashville. So a lot of people now are speculating whether or not that means that TNA and Panda are having a falling out, or if Panda's trying to distance themselves from TNA. What's really interesting with that is, does that mean that Dixie Carter could be distancing herself from TNA?
I have no idea, nor do I particularly care. I watched 2 hours of this. It's basically 2 hours of your life you'll never get back. And again, if you TiVo it, it's good for about 20, 30 minutes of quality wrestling. And that's basically the extent of my interest. I've been to 2 live house shows, and, both of them were very disappointing. You have guys like Kurt Angle and Austin Aries wrestling for 8 minutes, and then you have a 45, 50-minute intermission while they're hawking merchandise. You could buy the referee's T-shirt or whatever, and, they never had the courage of their convictions to push the X Division and make it a different, maybe even superior product to WWE, one of the greatest talent bases TNA in the history of wrestling squandered for the most part. And, that Aces and Eights went on for like 42 years. It was endless. And, it's a shame. Just let them wrestle. Just let them wrestle. And...
it did seem like...
I don't care where the office is. I don't care if they cancel it tomorrow, to be honest, except I feel bad for the wrestlers who need a payday.
You might not be too far off as far as them canceling tomorrow. That could happen. But I don't know. And really quick here, I'll get Al's opinion before we get ready to wrap it up. Al.
Yes.
Rey Mysterio could be on his way back to WWE. He's reportedly been in talks with WWE over possibly returning to the company. Do you care?
As I've seen Rey Mysterio since he was in ECW, and it's one of those things that, as a wrestling fan, he'll get paid some more. I wouldn't mind him coming back, but the thing is, how is he going to be used? He's probably going to be used in the improper way, and it's more the WWE trying to not to have him make money away from them. So it's one of those things that where I would like to see him on WWE to see what he could do with some of the new, younger talent, but at the same time, I'm happy for him to have the brass, hopefully, to continue on and end his career with AAA and the independent wrestling market, because he's done, he's done so much for the WWE and whatnot. I just think that, I'm conflicted. I'm happy. Yeah, I'll be happy either way, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's the WWE. They know what the value is of his mask. They try to, supplement his mask and his persona with Sin Cara and what are these people called now? The tag team with Kalisto.
Lucha Dragons.
Yeah, the Lucha Dragons. They're trying to, do that, and they see the number signs depleting because he's not there anymore. So for Rey Mysterio, I hope he makes the best decision, not only for him, but most importantly, for his family.